All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's executive committee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:37 a.m. Before we begin, we're going to start off with a territorial land acknowledgement. So we respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, Katzie, and Katzie First Nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations currently situated on occupied territories. We're now going to go over to the roll call of attendance. And when I call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and if you have any access needs that need to be met. So I'll start with myself. Hi, everyone. My name is my access needs, I will admit that I do have unstable internet because I am working from home today. So I am going to expect my vice chair, Abby, to jump in and help chair the meeting should I drop out of this call. I'll also be keeping my camera off. All right, over to our VP internal.
Hi everyone, my name is Judith, she for pronouns. My access needs are iffy, but it should be fine.
Okay, thank you, Judith. And over to our VP Finance.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby, he, him pronouns, all my access needs are met. Thank you.
All right, and to our VP University and Academic Affairs. I know she dropped an intro in the chat earlier, so I'll just read it out.
Thanks. I can also, I think I'm here now at the time, so I can also say so. Thanks so much, Helen. So hi everyone, my name is Nikki. I use she, her pronouns. For access needs, first of all, I'm really tired. Been working really long and late hours for the past like 2 weeks, and it's kind of coming down on me right now. So take it as you will, and I might need some accommodation based on that. And I'll also need to have my camera off for this meeting. Maybe I need to type in the chat sometimes. And also I'll be submitting some agenda amendments. So just like, I guess if I miss the time of it, just remind me, and I might also need to step in and out of the meeting periodically. That's my best to be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Let's go over to our VP External.
Hi, my name is Ishana Brun. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling in from the stolen and unceded lands of the Kitsi, Semiahmoo, and Kwantlen First Nations. And all my access needs are met, but I will be keeping my camera off.
Okay, and over to our VP Events.
Hello everyone, my name is Vaibhav and my pronouns are he, him, his. My access needs are met. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vaibhav. Let's now go over to our society staff. When I again call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and if you have any access needs that need to be met. Let's start off with our board organizer.
Hi everyone, Emanuela, she, her pronouns, access needs are met.
Okay, thank you. Over to our building manager.
Hi all, John here, and he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Okay, thank you, John. And over to our operations organizer.
Hi everyone, Aisha here, she, her, hers, and access needs are met.
All right, thank you. Now over to, is Beatty here? Hang on a sec. No, I don't think Beatty is here, so never mind. And our admin assistant.
Hi everyone, my name is Fanny, pronouns are she and her, and all of my access needs are met.
Okay, great. Thanks, Fanny. And then we have guests here today as well. We have from SFE Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Educator, Maya Wallace. Maya, do you want to do an introduction?
Hi, Helen. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm just here as a guest today to hopefully chat with you guys about some information and possible trainings and resources that we offer at the co-op office. And it's really great to hear everyone. My access needs are met. I also might have iffy internet right now, but other than that, I'm happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for being here, Maya. Great. So I think that should be it with introductions. Let's now go over to item 4 on the agenda, which is consent agenda. The motion just reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. I'm going to seek unanimous consent for this.
Point of order.
You have a point of order?
You forgot Eve.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Thank you. Eve from Compass. Sorry, Eve.
No worries at all. Thanks, Helen. Thanks, Nikki, for the point of order. Hi, everyone. My name's Eve. I'm a guest here. My pronouns are she, her, and my accessibility needs are met. Looking forward to my presentation today with y'all.
All right. Thanks for being here, Eve, and sorry again. Okay, let's go back over to the consent agenda. The motion needs to be resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Again, I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. We're now going to go over to the adoption of the agenda. The motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. May I have a mover for this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance moves, and someone to second.
University.
University seconds. I'm now going to open the floor for discussion, and I'll start by everyone listing themselves. So Nikki.
Thank you. I have a few to add on to the agenda. Should I just do them one by one, or?
If you can, yeah, drop your items one by one.
Here.
In order, so then we can do this.
Yeah, I just posted it in the chat.
Okay. I'm just gonna copy and paste things here on my end so that I know what's up. Okay, so we have a new business item and then an addition to in-camera discussion. Okay, let me go back to the agenda here. So with Nikki's amendment, so these are the only two amendments that you have today, correct? Nikki?
Yeah, I had other ones, but I'll just wait for 2 more weeks.
Okay, sounds good. So we have an addition to new business, which is section 10 on the agenda. So Nikki is going to move to amend the agenda to add a new section 10 with a new motion 10.1 titled, what would you like to title it, Nikki?
Appointment of associate vice presidents. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so it'll be titled 10.1 appointment of associate vice presidents for VP University and Academic Affairs, where the motion will read, be it resolved to appoint Duncan Brooker as associate vice president in University and Academic Affairs for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year. Be it resolved to appoint Emilio De Silva as Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. So that's one. I'm just going to add this onto my record here. Sec, everyone. New business. Abby, if you can also help me stay organized for today, I would greatly appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Also, Nikki, if I may suggest, would you want to make that 2 different motions, just so Duncan is one motion, and Emilio is another motion? Is that okay?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, when they probably have to be separate items, 10.1 and 10.2 or something.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so just to be clear for everyone, the new motion 10.1 will be it resolved to appoint Duncan Brooker as Associate Vice President Affairs. And then 10.2 will be it resolved to appoint Emilio De Silva as Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs as well as listen in the chat. And then Nikki also wants to add a new in-camera item, which is called discussion of potential risks individual student. Okay. I will go over to in-camera. Where are you? In-camera is section 12 on the agenda. So we're just going to add a new in-camera item titled that. I'll make a note of that on my camera. We have a discussion of risk to society posed by individuals. student. Okay, copy. Great. Sounds good. So let's just move these amendments right now. So Nikki moves all of these amendments. Can someone second these amendments?
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendments. Okay, seeing none, we'll take the amendment to a vote. I'm just going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none. Seeing none, the amendments are carried. Okay, awesome. Let's now keep going down the list here. I'm going to go to myself. I do have a few amendments today. So first things first, I'm going to add a new section 6 to the agenda titled Ratification of Regrets with the new motion 6.1 that will read, and for the sake of accessibility, I will just drop it in the chat here. It will read, be resolved to ratify the regret via Chatterjee, VP Equity and Sustainability for the Friday, July 29th, 2022 Executive Committee meeting. I am also going to strike item 7.3 under discussion items titled subbookings. And what else do I have here? And I'm going to add a new discussion item, which would be the new 11.8 titled Executive Office Safety. So I'm going to move 1 second these.
VP University.
VP University seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the amendment is carried. Okay. Let's go back to the original list here. Okay, I have Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I have a couple of amendments. I'll put them in the chat. So the first one is a discussion item. So the discussion item is called endorsing the letter from the Alma Mater Society named 2023 British Columbia Rent Freeze. The next one will be, should I just keep going with all of the items I want to add? I'm assuming so.
Sorry, I'm just going to ask Nikki, can you please the chat for just for now? I want to see the everyone's amendments in order, and it'll be easier for me to just help organize this agenda. Thank you. Okay, so first up, Ishana, you have a discussion item. There's that.
Yes.
And then what else do you have?
I have a motion. I'll put that in the chat as well and then read it out. So I want to move to add a motion in new business called Whereas the Alma Mater Society sent a letter to the VP External named 2023 British Columbia Rent Freeze, whereas the society has asked for support from the Simon Fraser Student Society, whereas this is an urgent matter, so it was brought to the Executive Committee to sign on, whereas rent increases are an issue for the Simon Fraser Student Society membership as well as the local community, be it resolved for the Simon Fraser Student Society 2022/2023 Executive to endorse a letter named 2023 British Columbia Rent Freeze from the Alma Mater Society. And then I have another discussion item. I will put it in the chat. Sorry, just give me a minute. And then I'm going to be adding a discussion item called Sub Safety Plan, including discussion on starting a working group. Sorry, just give me a minute. And then I want to add an in-camera item on toxic workplace culture. And then I will also be adding an item in new business called Whereas the current 2022/23 Executive Committee has provided their input and recommendations and have been presented with the reviewed 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan during an in-camera session. whereas the current 2022 to 2023 executive committee have yet to provide thorough input or recommendations in tightening up the scope and direction of the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan, whereas the current 2022 to 23 executive committee have reviewed the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan. Be it resolved, the 2022 to 2023 executive committee to formally recommend and approve the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th. Sorry, just to put that, and also I'll move to add an in-camera item called SFSS strategic plan. Sorry, I know that was a lot. Any clarifications?
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'm going to ask everyone again in that please hold it until I'm ready to go and proceed forward. So Abby and I can help. Abby can help me organize all of this. Okay. So we have first.
So point of information, Helen. I just need to check something with Ishana. Ishana, sorry, you submitted both a new business item and a discussion item regarding endorsing the letter from the Alma Mater Society, right?
Yes.
So I don't think the discussion item would make much sense, right? Because the new business would come before the discussion item, so we'd have to discuss the motion when we're trying to pass it, right? Unless there was something separate from passing it you wanted to talk about after we already passed it.
Nikki has a point of order. Sorry.
So what Abby is saying here, Sean, is that new business comes before discussion items. So it might be worthwhile not having that as a discussion item and business, because discussion would be the same thing.
Okay, that sounds good to me. We can strike the discussion item then.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, let me find this in the chat here. Okay, Nikki, you have a point of information.
Yeah, it's also the same as what Abby said, but for the strategic plan item, there's an in-camera discussion item suggested for it, and that I know that one also comes after the motion, the new business of the motion, but we do need to discuss it before putting forward like our thoughts on a motion. So I just wonder like I guess how to go forward with that. Maybe if we can just have a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. First, okay, everyone just, that was a lot. Hold it for a quick sec here. Let Abby and I organize this, and then we're going to move forward and we'll figure this out. So give me a sec. 10.1, 10.2, 10.4? What is that 10.4, Abby?
Well, no, okay, it becomes 10.3 now because we got rid of.
Okay.
No, we're still missing one of the motions, right? We have missing one of them. Which one are we missing?
Whereas
we're missing the strategic plan one. That's it.
Strategic plan. Okay.
So that one should actually.
So this one right here under new business. Okay, just give me a sec. I'm gonna copy and paste it. Okay. Copy. Paste. Okay. What else do we have here? We have an in-camera SFSS strategic plan. That'll be.
Yeah, no worries. We just didn't have it on our list here. It's still coming to new business. I just needed to make sure it was actually on our little doc here.
Okay. So I think that's it. Are we good with that?
Yeah, I'm taking a second look, but I think we're okay.
Yes. Just confirm with me, please.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So, Nikki, I also understand what you mean by having the in-camera discussion on the matter before going to the motion. what I will also do is let's do this. Let's move all of let's take a vote. We'll move second vote on Ishana's amendments, and then I'll bring in a new amendment to move in camera and X camera up closer to the beginning of the agenda. So we'll do that. Okay, so Ishana has Abby, you're trying to add an amendment, or is this like, are you trying to discuss something here regarding the amendment?
No, sorry, this is for after, sorry.
Okay, just seeking clarity. Okay, so Ishana has moved all these amendments, or has brought all these amendments where there's a new motion for the SFSS strategic plan. There is a for the alma mater society rent freeze, and then 2 discussion items titled toxic workplace culture and SFSS strategic plan. Ishana has moved these. May someone second these?
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendment. We'll take this to a vote. I'm just going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent on the amendment, please use raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, these amendments are carried. All right, now let's go over. Okay, what I will do is I will list myself at the bottom for later to move in camera up. I just want to go in order. Next, we have Vaibhav, you have the floor.
Hi, I have one amendment. I'll just type it in. Just give me a quick second.
Sure.
Yeah, I just typed it, and now I just sent it to Ella.
Could you type it in? There we go. Add an in-camera discussion on clubs. That's it. Okay, so you want to add an in-camera discussion item. Is that it, Vaibhav?
Yes, that's all. Thank you.
All right. So Vaibhav has. Sorry, just to clarify, this was all added as an amendment. And okay, Ishana, can you just yourself again? Because I don't think we added that in. I think that got glazed over. Okay,
Oh,
thank
we
you.
have that. We have that. That's 11.9.
Oh, we do have it here. Okay, perfect. Never mind. You can retract. Okay, let's go back over to Vaibhav. He has moved to add an in-camera discussion item titled Discussion on Clubs, JDC West, and KCIT. Vaibhav has moved this. Can someone second this?
BP University.
BP University seconds. Okay, we're just going to take the amendment to a vote. Oh, actually, no, we have to have discussion on it. Opening the floor for discussion on the amendment. Okay, seeing none. Let's take the amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the Zoom. Seeing none, this amendment is carried. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do here, because I'm just going to say this right now, executives, the agenda is starting to get packed. I'd like for everyone to please be mindful, and let's try to reduce the amount of amendments now, because it is starting to get packed and we are limited on time. We are still at the adoption of the agenda and it's only been 30 minutes. Exactly. So where are we, Abby?
So we have, so far we have.
This was Vaibhav, and then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to find who came after vibe
I
of?
think you're the, I retracted, and then I think you're next, but I'll double check. I'm pretty sure you're next.
Vibe of. Okay, I'm trying to help
Yeah,
double
no,
check.
I was next and I retracted, so you're next now.
Okay, help me keep track of the speakers list here as well, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so that is myself. So I'm going to amend the agenda to move. Okay, move sections 12 in camera and section 13 X camera over to, I'm going to move them as the new section 7 for in camera and section 8 for X camera on the agenda so that they'll be right before new business. So I move to do that, to move those sections up to section 8. May I have I'm going to move this, may I have someone second this amendment?
University.
University seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on this amendment. Okay, seeing none. Yes, Abby, they're after presentations. Seeing none, we will take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here for this. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise. Seeing none, those are all carried. Abby, in our working document, can you please just section off the new section 7 and section 8 for me, please? Okay. Awesome. And then we have last on the speakers list, I'm sure, is Ishana.
I believe Ishana retracted.
Oh, did you retract? Oh, you did retract. Okay. And then Nikki, you also retract your list. Oh, okay. Ashley list. Okay. Nikki, you have the floor then.
Yeah, I think it actually might be important. I'm really sorry, Helen. I know the agenda is starting to look packed. I'm really empathetic of that. I just think this is time sensitive.
Then for that matter, I'm cutting off the speakers list here. We'll end it off with you, Nikki.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Sorry for the background noise. I moved to add an in-camera item. Sorry. Discussion on setting an upper limit for response.
Okay. All right. So Nikki moves to have this in-camera item for a long time, folks. All right, Nikki moves this. May someone second this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on this amendment. This amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this amendment is carried. We're now going to go back over to the original motion, which is now going to read, be as amended. Again, I'm cutting off discussion here because it's time to move on. So let's just take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the adoption of the agenda is carried as amended. Okay, all right. Let's go over to the new section. Ooh. My apologies, Abby, I'm going to need your help here because the new section 6 is the ratification of regrets. I forgot to account that. So presentations is section 7.
Yeah.
In camera would be then section 8 and then 9. What do I do using Robert's Rules of Order?
I'm not sure. I guess we could try and suspend the rules and then try and amend that again. This will, it would take 2/3 this time though.
Okay. Okay, so. Okay, so at this point, I need to suspend the rules, correct?
Move to suspend the rules and then amend the agenda to
Okay.
Change the order of discussion items, or change the numbers under the items, sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right. Fanny, my apologies. You're going to have a great time with doing the meeting minutes for this agenda. Okay. My apologies, everyone. I made a mistake while counting all the numbers. So I'm going to move to suspend the rule in order to renumber the agenda properly, which means, again, section 6 would be the ratification of regrets. Section 7 would be presentation. Section 8 would be in camera. Section 9 would be ex camera, and the agenda would follow in order as of that. So it's going to require a 2/3 majority vote. I'm going to move this. Can someone second it?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. Okay, I'm going to open the have discussion on suspending the rules, correct? Abby?
I'm not sure. I think we can, but I'm not 100%.
Okay, I'll just do this. Why not? Just in case. Opening the floor for discussion on suspending the rules, just to renumber the agenda properly. Seeing none, we're going to take this to a vote. I'm pretty sure this is going to be unanimous consent, so it's going to vote or pass unanimously. So I'm going to seek unanimous consent on suspending the rules. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the motion to suspend the rules and renumbering the agenda properly is carried. Okay, awesome. Start getting into it all. Let's go over to the new section 6 of the agenda, which is the ratification of regrets. The motion reads, be it resolved to ratify the regrets for Ria Chatterjee, VP Equity and Sustainability, for the Friday, July 29th, 2022 Executive Committee meeting. I will move this. May someone second this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we're going to take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to go over to section 7. We have today. And before we go into it, I actually need to double check here. So Eve, you said you need to leave by 10:30, correct?
That's right, folks.
Okay. And Maya, I believe in Ria's email, you said your presentation is going to be about an hour, correct?
Oh no, so my presentation isn't an hour. This is an introduction of services and resources. And then I'm hoping to schedule for all the executives availability and an hour presentation next month or so, like which would specifically be for professional development.
Okay, okay, that makes more sense.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does make a lot of sense. So it's just a presentation. It's not a 1 hour thing.
No, it's only like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. I think just for the interest of time, I know Eve first. So I'm going to suggest that we move this around. Abby, do I need to suspend the rules again to do this?
I think that's the safe thing to do. Yeah.
Sorry, what is
okay?
Sorry to interrupt, but what's the other projected time? Like,
so because we have another presenter here today as well, Maya, Eve, who has Eve needs to leave by exactly in 15 minutes. So it'd be best for Eve to go first instead.
No, I'm happy for her to go first. I just want to know what her original slot time was in the agenda.
Originally, she would come after you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So we're just going to move it around. Okay, I have to suspend the rules again. So I suspend the rules by moving item 6.2 as the new 6.1. Sorry. The item 7.2, Compass Mental Health Group, as the new 7.1. And the new 7.2 will be proposal for a professional development session for SFSS executives on justice, equity, and inclusion and navigating the co-op term. Okay, I've moved to suspend the rules just to remove these two presentations around. May someone second this?
VP University.
VP University, open the floor for discussion here. Okay, seeing none, let's take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, to move it around is carried. Judith said it's not debatable and not amendable. Okay, I'll remember that for next time. Thank you. Awesome. So the new 7.1 under presentations is Compass Mental. Eve, you have the floor here. So do you need me to give you permissions to share a PowerPoint or?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, you should be able to.
Thanks so much, Helen. Hi, everyone. Eve here. I introduce myself, she, her pronouns, please. I am calling in from the land of the Haudenosaunee, Ottawandaron, and Anishinaabe. So grateful to work, live, and play on the land, the Indigenous, unceded and unsurrendered territory under Treaty 13. Otherwise known as Toronto, Canada. I am just wanted to give you a little bit of a sensitivity warning. There is a mention of student suicide in my presentation. So if you'd like for me to pass this, please let me know. I'd be happy to exclude it. Just send me a private message if you don't want me to talk about it. It's very light, but I do want to issue that sensitivity warning just to begin. Without further ado, I'm super excited to share with you Compass. Compass is a web application for students' mental health and well-being. It is a holistic and personalized platform that has been built in co-creation with students. I've been super blessed to be doing this work for the past couple of years. It really spun out of my own mental health advocacy, to be honest with you. I was an executive and I was really passionate about supporting students' mental well-being. I noticed that there was a huge gap in actually getting connected to support in that very first step of seeking the type of support that works for somebody. And so it's something that I created originally for my own university, University of Ottawa. So it was piloted, passed as a referendum. We've piloted at other schools and are launching next week at McGill. So I'm kind of freaking out, super happy to be here and presenting to you today. I have actually had the opportunity to meet with some of the SFU exec in the past, for example, Matthew and Corbett and Jennifer, who've been really instrumental in when we were just getting started and supporting us in co-developing this platform for students all across Canada. So really excited to get into it, as I've been in one of these before for consultation, and now being back here to present is a really exciting moment. I will keep the presentation tight because I know y'all are super busy. If there's any questions, feel free to interrupt me if it's really pressing. Otherwise, we'll have a few minutes for Q&A at the very end. And here we go. So hello, SFSS team. Lovely to meet y'all. I've had the pleasure of also meeting Abby and Ishana, who were wonderful in terms of just contributing to even me understanding Simon Fraser's culture these days and what's pressing on your mind as the SFSS. Compass is really all about creating more resilient, self-aware, and connected campuses. We are designed by students and for students, as I mentioned. We have an intersectional approach to mental health and wellness, recognizing that identity plays a critical role in the type of support that we seek and what works for us ultimately. We built this tool as really we were thinking about, the average student life experience, and then we really realized how helpful the tool is not only for students, but student leaders themselves who are supporting other students. And so the tool has really become a trusted one for folks in leadership positions to prevent burnout and to ensure that students are navigating the right support. We add value to the existing ecosystem and really take into account, what is already what is already available to students, what is in the community, what's in the greater ecosystem, what's in Surrey, Burnaby. We really localize the support, but then we also extend where the system lacks it. And so I'll speak to this in a few slides. I think the really powerful piece is the data insights that we're able to pull out from the platform at a de-identified and aggregated level, we can really understand what are some of the student behaviors and attitudes as it relates to mental health. And I really geek out on this because I think those insights have been able to create systemic change. And I'll give a couple examples of those later in the presentation. I'll give you a really actually high level of the platform just to show you where it all began. Really the platform, sorry, here I'll go. The platform really goes across my community, my mental health, my physical health. There's emergency support with whatever is the best practices that I consult with students. We can make the platform bilingual, but it probably doesn't have to be if we're out west, but we can talk about this. The platform is fully accessible, so if students are living with visual impairments or other disabilities, they can benefit from it equally. And so this is a demo here just to illustrate what it would look like, greeting y'all with the preferred name, with mindful message that changes every day. We would co-manage this with y'all, so we would ensure that, you know, everything here is centralized to what's available on campus, off campus, and online, as well as campus exclusive. So all of the events, resources, services, everything that you see here being centralized gets vetted also according to a framework that we've developed with our clinical psychologists to ensure sensitivity, accessibility, etc. And so on the first community section, you know, really getting students to know about all the events and opportunities at like a drop-in level for really, you know, making that sense of belonging with a wellness lens. So just for example, I'm just showing Marsha's calendar because it's a lot more lit than end of July. So students can here, you know, learn more, add it to their own calendars. If it's not in my cal, it's usually not happening. You can send it to a friend as packages in a nice invite, and then I can send it by iMessage or whatnot. Add to favorites. And so, you know, we really centralize again what's like, for example, happening. This was happening via the university was holding this. We can also give permissions to select members from the student community to upload their events if they're wellness, health, and oriented. And so this becomes really that trusted place to know about the drop-in opportunities to practice mental health and wellness. And there's my mental health, both the recommended resources, browse all resources, mindfulness library, physical health too. And so under my mental health, I really want to highlight the couple sections here. Browse all resources has been such a powerful tool for the peer help centers, the wellness health, the women's resource centers, etc., of the worlds, as they've been able to we've been actually able to replace some of the resource lists that are static, the sort of PDF binders, if you will. Here, you know, the Compass team takes responsibility for making sure all of the resources, services, etc., that are funneling in are really current and valid. We found this tool to be super helpful for, yes, the students on average finding support, but then also student leaders in supporting others and getting the support that they need. So students can filter through group, as you can see, which is really, really incredibly important, whether it's obviously students living with disabilities, international students, faith-based, we all, you know, are different care is needed for all different identities and backgrounds. Students can choose the type of method of support, type of support they're looking to address, location, whether it be online, on campus, etc. So just high level showing you what that looks like. Under my mental health, the recommended resources section, I'm going to actually show you, I prototyped it specifically to SFU students so you could see what it would look like. If they were to go through it, you know, they would be asked a series of questions that, again, we've developed with our clinical psychologist. You know, I may say that I'm feeling stressed often, having trouble concentrating often, trouble sleeping, say sometimes. And so progressing through it, there'd be a number of questions that I respond to. Gives me the agency, you know, to seek the support that I'm looking for and the method that I want. And we actually found that more than 3/4 of our users are looking for more than one type of support. So we're all about connecting students to a combination of support, not just a single resource. I may say that I'm looking for something mild and moderate. I may say that I'm not looking for any of the above in particular. I may say that I am looking for religious or spiritual-based support. I may say that I identify as a woman as part of the 2S LGBTQ community. And sorry, we are actually going to be changing this as of this academic year. And then I may say also that I'm looking for academic accommodation. So super important, adjacent, not all, when students are going through their student life journeys, experiencing mental health stressors, they think often to counseling and psychological services right away, but there's lots adjacent that is important as well. So we connect them to addressing some of their adjacent support that they need. And so it would load, for example, in this instance, bear in mind it's prototype, we'd have to do a sort of full resource mapping with y'all and implementation, but I'd be able to see, for example, what's available to me, the Trevor Project, which is an amazing organization for LGBTQ youth. There would be a club recommended for me based on how I responded, the Multi-Faith Center as well. I would also go, for example, seeing sorry, I'm just paused here. I would see, for example, Kind Space, Bounce Back, so self-guided tools, etc. Also Compass's Holistic Health Drop-In. So this is something that we offer. We offer a number of different resources, kind of alternative and complementary mental health support, not just the traditional, Western Eurocentric therapy. Chill Pill, this is an amazing app that we've partnered with Wobot, and again, pointing them to academic accommodations. And so students at this point, can also connect with a trusted Compass guide if they want to, go beyond the tech-enabled recommendations. And if they actually want to connect with one of our trusted Compass guides, they will be met via email or Zoom or however they prefer. And there's also would be that sort of accountability to making sure that that student gets the support they need, whether it's booking that appointment or changing the recommendations based on the ebb and flow of student life, or even a big thing is checking and helping them with their insurance, for example. So we're really fluid in that, and I'll hop back into my presentation just to go through some of the other bits. I do want to mention kind of like the origin story, because it's important to honor where we came from and how it all began. I did mention it came from the mental health advocacy that I was doing on campus at the University of Ottawa, but also provincially and nationally. The trigger was that there were 5 tragic student suicides in the span of 10 months. And so looking around, we were seeing that this is a reality across campuses in Canada, something that was that existed before the pandemic, exacerbated through the pandemic. And now we're really being thoughtful as to how do we safely return students back to campus, and how do we prioritize their mental well-being. This is, we were doing mindfulness meditations at the time, just very organic. We still, continue these, whether they be in person or online. This is, just one of the very few examples of how we contribute to the alternative and complementary mental health. But it's really through those conversations that we learned about this fundamental gap between students who are lonely and disconnected, who need the mental health and wellness support, and then the resources out there. So really simple illustration, but to show here, just how there's this disconnect between A and B, and countless students falling through the cracks. And so, it's attributed to many things. It's very complex, but we see the fragmentation of support, which y'all are so familiar with, the lack of awareness and clarity, pathways available, even the lack of empathy in some of the guidance, and being turned away sometimes at counseling centers, or not, just counseling centers not being able to take on whatever a student is going through, and overall just obviously resulting in the student being overwhelmed and in a position where they're unsupported. So this is really the problem that we're tackling. And we've co-created with so many different students. I put here too, like the Student Energy Club at Simon Fraser, to some of the inactive students at Simon Fraser. You can see University of Calgary students, Carleton, etc. But it's been really key, again, like I mentioned, to have gotten to consult with some of the execs before, and some of just the students on the ground, and now being back to pitch this as a pilot project for the upcoming academic year. And so the build of Compass has really been one that's been so holistic and across with students. And the big thing to take away, from the presentation is that we centralize resources. So that, again, whether they be on campus, off campus, online, or our own. So for example, we found from our users, 1 in 5 students are looking for support for eating disorders. Super alarming, something that, isn't necessarily as evident through just students talking. And so it's been picked up through data collection and a de-identified aggregated level. And so we have been actually creating modules for supporting students living with eating disorders. So that's just one of the areas in which we support an alternative and complementary mental health. We connect students to support, using a sensitive assessment tool, matching them to the combination of support that they need that's identity affirming, that's holistic, and of course, if they wish, also connecting them to a real human. And ultimately empowering y'all leadership with the data that you need for evaluation, for student advocacy, for, having to sometimes build cases for uni management, system improvement. And this is something I'm really, again, passionate about, just because I've seen how, for example, I said I would give you an example. I was able to bring back some information to a student union last semester about how the need for academic accommodations and support ties into how students are saying they're stressed, overwhelmed, a number of different sort of mental health feelings. And so they were able to use this information to advocate for better self-declared mental health leave for students. So again, I think it's incredible what this data can do, and just really powerful changes that can come from it. And this is something students don't notice because they're using the platform, benefiting from it in one way, but then I think the flip side is leadership really is well equipped from it. And this a little bit of an overview on campus exclusive support, from the guiding to the weekly sessions to evidence-based programming. This is kind of what an implementation overview would look like. We would think about something that I would almost suggest to specifically SFSS is October 10th as World Mental Health Day till the end of April 30th. So spanning those approximately 7 months. And so I spoke to Abby as well a little bit on the possibility of a referendum, or how could we make this sustainable onwards. I mean, giving students the opportunity first to kind of check it out, pilot it, etc. And so what I'd like to propose is, with key implementation activities from, the marketing communications, everything from having the platform be available 24/7 to EDI audits, to student consultation, to impact and data reporting. I'd like to present you the price of investment at $18,000 for the pilot year with that timeline. And then of course, support to make it sustainable onwards, which of course is a super key piece of, making sure that students are supported through the length of their student life experience. It's been something that we've done before, and we found that it's been effective in, getting the student union on board, and then getting, another stakeholder, whether it's actually the students themselves or the administration involved, to be able to take on something, especially with the data that comes up, and showing how much we can support students. It's something that can easily become adopted otherwise through different funding mechanisms, is what I need to say. So anyhow, that's that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your attention and for having me. And I'd love to answer any questions. I know that we're at time. I'm going maybe even a little bit over. And I will definitely give you this presentation so that you're well equipped with it afterwards.
All right, thank you so much, Eve. I'm going to open the floor for discussion then. If anyone has any questions or comments for Eve, now is the time. Okay, here we go. Okay, I see. Okay, Nikki has listed herself first, so let's start there. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eve, for your presentation. It's good to learn about what you're looking into doing with this. I do want to, I'll just be very honest, I'm not super into this idea, because I do know that there are hundreds of other apps that offer these types of services, and I've been doing consistent outreach with students on the ground and in really low barrier and accessible formats. And what I hear about what students need for their mental health is they need access to more robust long-term psychotherapy supports, where they have actually already a wealth of options to access these types of short-term based resources online, and they also have, I believe, My SSP right now, which is rolling out similar programs, and these short-term mental health access things that they have is disproportionate to offerings of more robust mental health supports. And I'm of the opinion that any money should be spent towards offering more robust long-term mental health supports for students, just because of what they voiced in terms of what they are lacking as of current. Thank you. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Nikki. Thank you for your transparency. I think, I mean, I'm with you. I think there's such a lack in long-term psychotherapy and more support for acute, serious, and chronic mental health challenges. So I'm going to take it back to my team. I think my response to that would be, we're definitely in the realms of being both preventive and reactive, in the sense that like we will support students in connecting to the sort of rehabilitation services or more acute treatment that you need. But I understand like some of the lacks there too. In terms of prevention, like definitely connecting students to a combination of support before they get to a more serious chronic and acute standpoint is really important in terms of alleviating the systems for some of the folks that are really in need of them. So I get that. And I think maybe, sorry, the response I want to give is like, I think our coaching is really, really key for long-term support. I didn't delve that into it, but having somebody who's consistent, having somebody who's holistic, some identity affirming, sometimes sharing lived experience, like I think that's where maybe it would respond to the concern that you have in terms of it not being something that is available longer term and consistently. But I just fully transparently, like we don't offer necessarily like, EMDR or all this different sort of thing that can be important. But yeah, I'll pause there and I'll just leave you off with, thinking about the coaching as something that is long-term and consistent. And we can talk about it later, but I will note this and I will take this to my team too, because these are incredible conversations that also point us to where we should be going. I think also, sorry, very last thing, I'm talking a lot, but I think with the pilot, I think a big thing is like we would be super committed to also evolving with the needs and wants of students, like and the changing ones as well at SFU specifically.
All right, thank you, Nikki and Eve. Next up on the list, we have Abby.
I'll keep it really brief. Thanks so much, Eve, for coming in today. Great presentation. And I wanted to bring this to executive today again to give feedback to Eve and to kind of see where everyone's heads are at. I know Eve did give us a really significant discount on this pilot program, so that's something worth considering as well. So I didn't want to put a motion in today just so everyone has time to breathe and think about this, but I can definitely see while there are some drawbacks, there's a lot of benefits to this as well. And it's something we should think about. Thanks.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, we're a big kind of preventative mental health solution. And I mentioned the reactivity as well, but I think that's maybe something to hone in on in terms of the benefits. And I don't know if there's any other questions, but I'll kind of look forward to your discussion. You'll take it back. You have many different points. I'll let you chat amongst yourselves. I guess the next step, if this is something that you'd like to bring on, it would, I assume, go to being approved by the board, etc. So I'll check in with you execs afterwards. And please don't hesitate to shoot me a note if you have any other questions. You can reach me at any time at Eve. I'm just dropping it here at checkcompass.ca. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eve, for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again for the great presentation.
Thank you. Be well, everyone.
Bye for now. Okay, wonderful. All right, let's keep moving on with this agenda here. Next up, we have item 7.2, which is proposal for a professional development session for SFSS executives on justice, equity, and submitted by Ria. Unfortunately, she's not here today, but we do have Maya. So Maya, I will give you the floor. And do you have a PowerPoint that you are wanting to present for us today?
Yeah, please. That would be great.
Okay, great. I'll just give you co-hosting permissions here. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So I also just want to mention with my accessibility, I'm going to be with my camera off, so I hope that's okay with everyone. And I think it's also kind of a release because it seems like everyone is also on the same page. But yeah, so I'm Maya. Thank you so much for having me here today. I know how long these meetings can get with agenda items and with all the work you folks do for students. So I just want to appreciate that and also shout that out. I'm calling in from Musqueam to Tsleil-Waututh and Squamish territories, and so I'd like to also acknowledge where I'm calling in from. And today, the whole point of this and me reaching out with VP Equity is because of the scope and relevancy of the work that we do in work integrated learning. So there's a subsection of Will Central, which is if you've ever done a co-op, like you folks doing SFSS or anything executive, you are eligible for credits and co-op credits and also co-op support. And sometimes it can seem beneficial to have an objective or an outside organization that's supporting resourcing and also motivating you with your skill set, perspective, and equipping you to help you have like an efficient work experience whilst you're also pursuing your degree. So this is why we kind of have this section of student supports and services at Will JEI. As you guys know, my name's Maya. So I just did my land acknowledgement, but this is like the team of who we currently are. The interesting part is we may disperse, or personally I am, like I'm not staying in this role for too long. That's why I have a date in the agenda you can see before August 31st, and that's why I'm really keen on making something happen with you guys for a PD session, which would be 30 minutes to an hour, hopefully, of your time that we can all attend with all 7 execs and myself. And just to give a little context about me, I was a UBC student who graduated earlier this year. I've been in the Alma Mater Society at UBC for like the last 2 or 3 years. And I was a political researcher on the external team. And then I also worked in the president's office under Cole Evans as equity and inclusion lead. So I also understand the dynamics of SFSS and student government and student unionizing. So, and now I'm just working as a consultant in this field. So that's a little bit about me. I'm really happy to SFU because you folks are also a really key contributor in student advocacy overall. Oh, sorry, I think someone's trying to enter. Okay, cool. And so, yeah, breakdown of information. It's just kind of like, what do we mean by justice, equity, inclusion, how we center students, how to know what you're looking for, and what we do to help. So I think a lot of you folks or people listening to this might be like, okay, but why from the JEI Will team? Like what differentiates that? What differentiates us is that we actually do professional specific justice, equity, inclusion, which if you don't know that much about it, it's pretty rare because most EDI, JEI, whatever abbreviated term that you're familiar with, never actually centers workplace settings, right? We see it in student advocacy, we see it with extreme marginalized groups, we see it with disadvantaged or low income communities, neurodiversity, ableism, homophobia, racism, anything, transphobia, anything. So when we understand that, we only understand EDI from a conceptual lens. We also only understand it from a societal lens or an extreme, right? So it's never really broken down in like these interpersonal interactions, in microaggressions, in understanding use of language professionally. It's never really understood with boundary setting in the workplace, whilst also building, right, this community building that's such a key part of the work you folks do. And that's kind of how we center students, because you folks are having a really, really unique experience where you're working, you're a student leader, and you also have your own personal lives, right? So it's kind of like, how do we navigate and manage all of that? And that's where we come in to help you know what you're looking for and what we do to help. Obviously, we offer courses and different things, which I'll get into later on, but we also advise and then also help with resourcing, and that's a huge part. So we're also a key person or community that you can come to for redirection. So like, for example, if there's something that we can't specifically offer you for, we have that knowledge and resources and confidentiality to help you navigate those systems without you having closed doors in terms of the needs that you may have. And also finding, and it's been shown, finding safety outside of an environment of harm or stress or labor is also beneficial mental health wise. And so this is kind of obviously something you folks know, but just something we cover. As you know, you are student advocates and leaders, but I just want to go over this because I think when you're busy working for other students, you forget to care about yourself, right? So I think it's important to understand that the SFSS is in a unique space where it's student facing and student centering, whilst also, you know, sharing these multiple identities. So that's a very internal experience. So it's kind of like, how do you manage all of that? When we hear justice, equity, inclusion, I think people don't really get, you know, their light bulb switched on or get an aha moment because they only understand justice, equity, and inclusion from an extreme lens. And what we really like to demonstrate is that it's not. It's really done in incremental practice for sustainable, healthy working relationships. And that's why we kind of have it here as the micro and macro stages of your co-op journey. And so the purpose of us within Will Central and why we're situated there is to recognize the needs of students, help direct their requests, assist and accommodate, and provision of resources like I've mentioned before. And so this is one of the services that we do offer every week. It's a drop-in virtual advising hours, which is currently led by myself. They happen every Thursday, 10 to noon. It's confidential, and everything that you do, it's kind of can be event session. It can be a specific question about interviewing, exiting roles, transitioning, anything from resume writing to negotiating raise, anything of the such. Sorry about my voice. So yeah, that's definitely what we offer there. And also we do make time accommodations as well if that doesn't work for you. And then with justice inclusion courses, we have effective intercultural communication, interviewing 101, and then job search success. Obviously, I would say a valuable course is job search success because it is before and it's a 5-week course. None of these courses are really strenuous and they're all go at your own pace. So there's not like deadlines. It's not like Canvas discussions and papers. It's like a lot of asynchronous participation that really encourages you to just have a more self-reflective journey. And it's definitely a form of self-educating. I would say job search success is facilitated, and effective intercultural communication is also. So it just depends on the term you're taking it and who's facilitating, but we can and we do offer hands-on help as well if you need it. And with this, there's also additional resources which are just available on our website, and they're kind of in the format of like toolkits or info packets that you can just read and peruse online. But there's an accessibility resource. English is an additional resource. And I Belong, which is currently in development, but definitely something to check out, even though some of its content is outdated for now. And just to give you insight, we do a lot of research. So a big part of my role is actually surveying students, being hands-on and understanding what is a student experience. And just as a general concern for all co-op placements that SFU students engage in the past year, we've gotten response that the two major concerns are intercultural dynamics and communication and racism and microaggressions in the workplace. So that's one of the biggest concerns as students who, unlike you, aren't in a student-led and student-centered working environment where they're dealing with a bigger age gap, sometimes more work formality, less flexibility, and definitely that robust 9-to-5 experience where they're engaging with non-students and full-time working professionals. These are some of the experiences and concerns they have. And I think it's really interesting and unique for SFSS because the reason why I think it's important for us to establish a relationship is because you folks have a very different experience. And so being in tune with that and hopefully building kin and understanding your needs will also help us as a JEI Will team to understand this niche subsect of the working experience that you folks have gone into throughout your degree. And here's just a list of a bunch of resources, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. And I've heard some folks mention my SSP, so it's great that obviously you're aware of these, but we just include this to kind of raise awareness. And that's everything from me, so I'm just gonna stop sharing and let you guys ask any questions. And also, I'll totally dive into what I'm hoping to get out of the PD, which would be on a topic that you folks can suggest in communications with me, or I'm happy to send out a survey to see what you folks feel like you would like to build your skill set in, and that would be offered for free within the next month, hopefully. With, like I said, it can be up to an hour of your time just for your own growth and your own development and hopefully expansion in your skill set as you go into the academic year this fall. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. And is there any questions, concerns, anything at all?
Thank you so much. I'm going to open the floor here in case any executives have any thoughts, questions, comments they want to share with Maya. Now is the time.
Yeah, I can. The PowerPoint is not a link, so I can create it as a shareable link and then share that with you folks later in an email, if that's okay.
Should be fine. Fanny, is that okay for you? Because I know you're going to be collecting the attachments.
Yeah, that's good. I just won't need it sent to me later.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't made, like I wasn't made aware that I had to share that, but I'll totally, if you could just direct message me your email, I can totally send that after.
For sure.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Ishana, you have the floor.
Hi, Maya. Thank you for your, oh, sorry. Hi, Maya. Thank you for, is there like echoing going on? Okay, it's gone now. But I just want to say, thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering kind of like next steps. I heard you said that there are like some free courses and things like that. Could we possibly get links to that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just gonna post a link right here on first of all the information on you folks claiming your co-op credits. I think from what I've heard, I know a few of you may have done that, but here you can get more information. It's not too late for you if you're an executive. Unfortunately, it's only open to executives, but you can still have access to claiming your co-op so that even after you're done working, let's say in the SFSS, you can still explore other opportunities and get that credit at the end of your degree. So it's a great way for you to have distinction and recognition in your qualifications. And then, yeah, with our courses, I'll just share with you the link, sorry. With our courses, it's all available on our website. And so with the courses I just shared with you in the presentation, that is available to anyone who wants to be enrolled and who is a co-op student. But the one experience that I'm having with you folks would look like scheduling a PD. Obviously, if most of you are open to it, just for your own personal growth and development and just to share our resources, honestly. This is just definitely an area that we feel is really relevant to us in terms of the services and perspective that we have to offer. And so I'd be really happy to organize that with you folks which I would definitely need to inquire about who to be in contact with for that, and your schedules, obviously, and where we can go from there. So I hope that gives a little more context. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys. So please let me know when you would like to get into that, and I'll definitely reach out to schedule that more, as I obviously know that that takes more than like just a Zoom call discussion. So yes, you can get my email. Thank you for reminding me. Is there any more questions anyone may have?
It seems like that might be it on the executive side of things.
Awesome.
So Maya, thank you again so much for coming in and giving us this presentation.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Okay, awesome. So that is it with presentations. Next things next would be going, hang on one second. It would be going in camera, but we've been going at this for quite some time already. So I'm going to suggest that we take a short break. We'll return at 11 a.m. to go in camera because we have quite a few discussion items. I would rather everyone take their time now to just grab a cup of water, stretch their legs now before we go in camera and be in there, which would probably be a lengthy amount of time. So let's return at 11 a.m. and we'll go in camera then. All right, welcome back everyone. We're now continuing on with our agenda. We are now on to section 8, which is to go in camera. The motion will read, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. I'll just move this motion to expedite the time faster. May someone second this?
University.
VP University seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Okay, awesome. Give us a moment, folks. We're going to just start creating a breakout room. Abby, do you want to do that or do you want me to do it?
I'm gonna give me one sec.
And make sure we invite Ricky and all of management as well into the in-camera session. Fanny, my apologies. You're going to have to be waiting ex-camera here for quite some time. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are coming out of our in-camera session, and unfortunately, we will need to go back again because we have not finished it just yet, but we do have a process to follow, and we do need to do this before the scheduled ending of our meeting, which was supposed to be at 12:30. So let's just get on with this. Let's go over to section 9. The motion reads, be it resolved to go ex camera for the remainder of the meeting. I'll move this motion. Can someone second this?
VP UAA, sorry.
Okay, VP UAA seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we will take this to a vote. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function. Seeing none, the motion to go ex camera carries. Abby, you have the floor.
I'd like to move to extend the meeting to 1:30 p.m.
Okay, all right. Abby moves to extend the meeting to 1:30. I can second this. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, let's quickly take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function. Seeing none, this motion carries. Okay, all right. Our meeting has now been moved, or our meeting has now been officially extended until 1:30 p.m. We do need to go back in camera, so I'm going to ask Abby here for some advice. Do I need to suspend the rules to add in a new section for
you can just move in
X camera?
You can just move in camera.
Just move in camera. Okay, awesome. Great. So I am going to officially move that we executives plus management, we all can go back in X camera. So the motion will read, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. I move this. Can someone second it?
VP University.
VP University seconds. Opening the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function. Seeing none, this motion is carried. We're now going to go again back in camera. So I think everyone should be able to go back into the breakout room minus our admin assistant. So please go ahead and join that breakout room, and we'll see you there. Okay, hi everyone. We are back from our in-camera session. We have yet to go X camera, so let's get on with that process. The motion reads, be it resolved to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. May someone move this?
VP University.
VP University moves, and someone to second.
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, let's take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Okay, we are now officially back in X camera. So let's go on to new business. Actually, before we go on to new business, I am just going to list myself here. I'm going to list myself here, and I'm going to move to extend the meeting by 1 more hour to end at 2:30 p.m. Just for the best interest of time, since we have a packed agenda today and we need to get through it. So I'm going to move this. Can someone second this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. No dissents. This motion is carried. Okay, our meeting has been officially extended to 2:30 p.m., but let's hope we don't need to use up all that time. We can try to get out of here as soon as we can. Okay. Let's go over to new business now. We have 4 motions on the floor. The first motion here is item 10.1, appointment of Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs. The motion reads, be it resolved to appoint Duncan Booker as Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Would anyone like to move this?
I can.
Okay, VP University moves, and someone to second.
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I can just vouch for Duncan. He's been really helpful going forward with advising to the UAA portfolio, and he's going to be a great addition to the team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Anyone else with discussion on the matter? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I guess we should just take this to a vote. Okay, I'm gonna seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. So Duncan Booker has officially now been appointed as an Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs for the rest of this council year, and is officially Nikki's third Associate Vice President. All right, congrats to Duncan. Let's move over to the next item. Item 10.2, appointment of Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs. The motion reads, be it resolved to appoint Emilio da Silva as Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Would anyone like to move this motion?
VP University.
Okay, VP University moves, and someone to second.
Events.
Okay, VP Events seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I've been having great discussions with Emilio. He has really strong experience. He's currently pursuing a bachelor in education right now, so he's an undergrad. And I have confirmation of his enrollment and everything. And he actually has already a master's degree, and he's been involved as an executive in BCIT in their student union as well. So he's been quite involved. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. I'm going to ask, I've listed myself here because I do have a question. When you say confirmation of enrollment, are you saying that Emilio is going to be joining SFU in the fall?
He's a current student.
Current student. He's a current student taking classes.
15 credits this semester and 17 credits next semester.
Okay, all right. That's all the clarification that I needed. Thank you. Okay, Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, just clarifying. So they're a current undergrad, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I've listed myself here again because I do have a question, and I think I'm going to direct this to our VP internal because I do need clarity here. What is the limit on executives having associate VPs? If any, please.
You can have up to 4.
Up to
and then
4.
they have to be a member in good standing society. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. All right then. Any more discussion? Nikki, you have the floor.
This isn't relevant here, but I did check the policy and there's no limitation in current policy. But there is a bit of a rumor going around that there is a limitation for up to 4, but I haven't been able to find it. And also I asked Abby to look for it and he wasn't able to find it so far. But yeah, that should be clarified, I think, going forward, but it doesn't apply for this specific one, but I haven't been able to find it actually written in policy.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. I know our VP internal has looked very, very carefully into policy, has been spending all her time on it. I would task the VP internal just to double check it, to provide clarity to all executives on the limit and to reference the policy. Just so that is clear for all the other VPs and all other executives here, that if they were to bring on more associate VPs, they know what their limitations are. I'm going to ask if there's any more discussion on this item. Okay, seeing none, let's take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, this motion is carried. Okay, let's go on to item 10.3. It is recommendation of the 2021-2026 SFSS strategic plan to council. The motion currently reads, whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee has provided their input and recommendations and have been presented the reviewed 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan during an in-camera session, whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee had yet to provide thorough input or recommendations in tightening up the scope and direction of the 2021-2026 SFSS strategic plan, whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee have reviewed the 2021-2026 SFSS strategic plan. Be it resolved, the 2022-2023 executive committee to formally recommend the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th, 2022. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance moves.
VP
and someone to second. VP University, I guess you'll be seconding that. Great. I'm going to open the floor for discussion now. All right. For Fanny, the title of this motion, hang on, let me just drop this in the chat for you. Give me a quick sec here. Fanny, this can be a suggested title for you to use. Just up above. All right. Let's go over his list here. Okay, I think Abby, clarify for me, Nikki has listed herself, correct?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, you have the floor.
I list to amend the motion with the one I pasted in the chat.
Okay, let me just. Okay, so in the chat here, Nikki has to amend this motion for it to read. I'll read the whole thing out here. Whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee have been presented with the reviewed 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan during an in-camera session. Whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee had yet to provide thorough input or recommendations in tightening up the scope and direction of the 2021 to 2020 SFSS strategic plan. Whereas not all executive committee members had the chance to provide input on the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan. Whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee will be consulted by the board organizer for feedback on the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan before the executive committee meeting on August 12th, 2022. Be it resolved, the 2022 to 2023 executive committee to formally recommend approve the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th. Okay, Nikki has moved to amend this motion. Would anyone like to second it? You have a point of information.
Sorry, I noticed I made a mistake. I think that the second to last whereas clause should be also a be it further resolved or be it resolved, and then this last one should be a be it further resolved because it's a conditional statement.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask
not recommending it at the current moment, but only if the situation is that we are all consulted, if that makes sense.
So we're already like in the process of moving this amendment. I would suggest we get someone to second it, and then we can further have discussion on it and make any other amendments that need to be made to it currently. So can someone second this amendment?
I'll do it, VP University.
But you moved it, Nikki. Someone else needs to second it.
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. Okay, I'm gonna open the floor for discussion on this amendment. Okay, Nikki, you've listed yourself.
I'm just adding something very quick sentence. So I'm just adding to the very last one, to the be it resolved clause. I'm just like making it read now, be it resolved the 2022-2023 executive committee to formally recommend and approve the 2022 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th, and then adding on the condition that all executives have the opportunity to provide their feedback before before August 12th.
Okay, so Nikki, this is what we're gonna do here. Abby, I'm gonna check in with you with my Robert's rules. Can you make an amendment to the amendment?
Yes, you can make an amendment to the amendment, but we cannot go any steps further. So if there needs to be an amendment to the amendment of the amendment, then we can't do that. But she can make just a simple amendment to the amendment.
Okay, so you're saying that we don't need to vote on this amendment. She can make an amendment to the amendment.
We still have to, just like we're doing a normal amendment, she can amend the amended motion as Judah put it in the chat.
Okay, so you're saying she can amend an amended motion. Okay, so we need to basically vote on this amendment, go back to the amended motion, and then amend it again.
So we need to get a mover and seconder on the amendment to the amendment. Then we need to have discussion. Then we need to vote on it. Then we need to go back to discussion on the main amendment. Then we need to vote on that. Then we need to go back to the main motion.
My brain. Okay, Abby, please direct me as carefully as I can.
Sorry,
so
hold on one second. Sorry, do you think Judith's disagreeing with me? I need to clarify this
you
time.
can't amend an amendment, but you can amend an amendment. Yes, okay, all right. So this is what we're gonna do. We're going to vote on this amendment right now. We take it back as the amended motion, and then we amend that again with any other suggestions you have, Nikki, okay? Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's do that. So I'm just gonna seek unanimous consent here for this amendment. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the amendment is carried. So now the motion is amended. There is still discussion on it. If there are any changes or discussion needed to be made on the amendment, on the amended motion, please list yourself now. Okay. Nikki, you have the floor.
I move the amendment that I just posted in the chat, and I also just recommend just reading the be it resolved clause because everything else remains the same except just the last
okay.
clause.
All right, and just for clarity, it's the time stamped at 1:04 p.m., correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so everything is the same. The only amendment that Nikki wants to make here is the last be it resolved clause where it says, be it resolved that the 2022-2023 Executive Committee to formally recommend and approve the 2021 to 2026 SFSS strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th on the condition that all executives have the opportunity to include their feedback prior to the August 12th, 2022 Executive Committee meeting. Okay, so Nikki has moved this. May someone second this? I'll just, okay, VP Fine seconds it. We're gonna open discussion on this amendment. Nikki, Judith, you have the floor.
I just want to say I'm against this amendment on the pure basis that we do have a relatively nice tight time window here. And I think because we were already supposed to provide our input a while back, I don't think this should be conditional upon everybody providing their feedback. This has been something that was an option for us 3 weeks ago, and it was invited to everybody in the executive committee. My suggestion is that we don't include this amendment, this condition aspect of it, because in the possibility somebody's missed again, then we can't push it to council again. So I am personally not for this amendment at all.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Did my computer freeze? Am I frozen? Wait.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Judith. Where are we here? Okay, Nikki, you have a direct response?
Thanks. I have a way to address Judith's concern because I noticed that just right after. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to write motions just on the fly and then not have the ability to proofread them. I will say that Judith's concern would be fully addressed just by striking the word all in the be it resolved clause. And that's my suggestion, because then it wouldn't be inclusive of all executives as a conditional.
Okay, I'm just trying to go down here. 1 sec. Okay, then that means we would, to do that, we have to go through the same process again. Yeah, no, it's okay, Judith, go for it.
In that case, I find this amendment redundant, because that if that's what we're doing, then we already have a whereas clause that says that the board organizer will consult with us by August 12th to provide feedback. I don't understand why this amendment has to go forward then, because first off, we already had executives provide their feedback. Secondly, I know, I just don't think that whereas clause is necessary then, if not all executives have to do it. At that point, we could approve it now with that logic. So I think this amendment is redundant.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Okay, Nikki, you've listed yourself and then you've directly responded. I'm assuming that you are wanting to have a direct response to Judith unless it's a new thought. So, okay, so I'm retracting your list and you can directly respond now.
Okay, so here's the situation. I talked to some of the executives to clarify this. So the board organizer did not reach out to all of the executives for comment. So that's actually not all the executives had the opportunity to comment on the strategic plan. And there's also, like, in terms of even if they did, it's like accessibility related. So every person should be able to comment on it if they want to. And the conditional of this is the reason, okay, please like be open-minded, Judith, with this. The reason I'm adding this to the be it resolved clause is because if the be it resolved clause remains as it was before, it's saying that we're formally recommending it as it is now, right? And we can't do that because not all the executives have commented on it, right? Or not all the executives that have wanted to comment on it have commented on it. So that's why there's a conditional added to this. Because if we just keep it the way it was before, be it resolved the executive committee to formally recommend and approve the plan, right? And we can't do that right now at this point. So that's why the conditional is added to it. I hope that clarifies things, and thank you.
Okay, Abby, can you help me out here for a sec? Where are we?
Judith has a direct response,
Judith,
then
the
Ella's
direct
on the
response,
list.
and then Ella's on the list. Okay. Okay, Judith, I'll allow your direct response.
So first of all, this is actually untrue. Ella reached out to us to schedule a time to discuss a strategic plan. All of the executives were invited to it. I have pulled up the invite right now. It was on Thursday, the 21st of July from 8:30 to 9 a.m. I know I went there, and I know Abby was also there. We talked to Ella about strategic plan, which is why some changes were made to it. I also see everybody who said they were coming. Nikki, you were one of them who said that she was going to show up to it. You did not show up to it. I do not appreciate the insinuation here that Ella did not reach out to us. She did. There were emails also sent asking us to respond to it. I understand we have different things going on, and I personally did not have time to provide written feedback, but I did show up to the meeting to give my input. So Ella did what she could. So you were invited to it, management was invited to it, and exec were invited to it. So no, Ella did do her due diligence. So this assumption that she didn't is actually just factually untrue, and it's on my calendar to prove it.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. Yes, I agree that it is getting heated, but I do want to support Ella here and do say that she did do her due diligence. She did reach out to all the execs, provided a time slot for the calendar invite. So that is something I want to support Ella there because she did do her job. Ella, you have the floor.
Oh, I did retract my list, but I did just want to state I have no problem in making sure that all of the concerns are brought forward. My main intention at the end of the day is to make sure that students' voices are a part of the strategic plan. Ultimately, I think that the additional amendment is a little bit redundant because I'm going to make sure that that conversation happens. But my main priority here is just to make sure that all of that information is actually captured, however way that actually manifests.
Okay. I'm gonna cut off the speakers list here because I do not want this to get out of hand anymore. This is just an amendment. Seeing that there is contention, I'm gonna take a roll call vote on this amendment. So, I'm gonna go by roll call vote, and when calling your position, please just state how you vote. So I'm going to start with myself. Based on the amendment, I am against. Judith, you have the floor.
Extremely against.
VP Finance.
I'm not quite following, so I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. VP University.
Just based on what Ella said, I'm against, but I just want to ask for the chair just to try to calm down this situation with seeing what in the chat right now. Can you please do something about it?
For sure. Well, what I've tried to do to calm this down is to stop the discussion and get on with the voting. Ishana, you have a point of information.
Yeah, sorry, I'm wondering what we're voting on. Like, is it to the amendment, to the previous amendment?
Yeah, so hang on one sec. I'm going to try and scroll up chat here and then copy and paste what we're voting on. The amendment to the amendment is right here. Oh, wait, hang on. Why are you not doing anything? It's this. Oh, wait, no, sorry, hang on. Oh, wait, Judith's got it. Ishana, let me know when you have clarity so I can continue the voting.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna read it over. Just give me a minute. Sorry, is it my time to vote?
Yes, when I'm ready. How do you
Okay.
vote?
Sorry, I'm still a little confused. Can I get the whole motion, please?
Sure. One sec here. Okay, point of information, Abby, you have the floor.
Yeah, Ishana, so for the amendment, the reason that's the only part that Judith put is because that's the only part that's been amended. The rest of the motion is still kind of as is. We're just voting on that part being amended from the original.
Okay, sorry, point of information. I'm just wondering what the board organizer said about this, because I didn't really follow.
Yeah, Ella, I'll allow your direct response.
I just said that I thought that it was a little bit redundant to have this amendment because ultimately, like, I'm going to make sure that those conversations are had. I think you all have worked with me long enough now to know that I prioritize students' thoughts. So there's that, but you can vote whatever way you would like to vote.
Ishana,
Okay.
do you still want the full motion?
No, okay, got it. Sorry, hearing what the board organizer said, I'm also against if they go and consult all of us. But yeah, I'm
Okay, so you are against?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Over to our VP events. VP events, how do you vote? Where's our VP events?
He doesn't vote in like 5-10 seconds, maybe we can call it an abstain, a passive abstention.
Okay, so we have, hang on. One. Abby, can you help me out here?
believe we had 4 against and 1 abstention.
Okay,
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I just came back. I'll abstain.
Okay. 4 and
okay,
2 then.
so we have 4 against and 2 abstentions. With majority, it means that the this amendment, it fails. So now that that amendment has failed, Abby, I'm going to ask that you drop the full motion in the chat once again so we can vote on it and move on.
Sorry, do we have that in the doc? Or is it from the chat?
Well, I was hoping you'd help me keep track of that.
Sorry, I lost track of that, trying to keep track of the lists.
Oh, my vice chair. It's okay. Let's just find the original motion. Okay, I think I have it here. Give me a sec.
Oh crap, did we just lose Helen? Okay.
Yeah, Helen dropped from the call, I think, so you're chair now. Until she...
That's great. Sorry, Jude, did you have the motion by any chance?
So it should be the one without the condition in it.
Okay.
I think it's the one I sent in the chat. It's the one that says, whereas the current 2022-2023 executive committee will be consulted by the board organizer for feedback on 2021-2026 as for the strategic plan before the executive committee meeting on August 12, 2022. Be it resolved that 2022-2023 executive committee to formally recommend and approve the 2021-2026 as for the strategic plan to be presented to council on August 17th. Am I on track here?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm gonna awkwardly call on Ella. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, that does sound right. Thanks, Judith.
Awesome. So at this point, the amendment failed. Abby, we're back to the amended motion as that stands. So if there's any discussion on it, now that would occur. If not, you can move to a vote.
Okay, so I'll ask, is there any discussion on it? I think Helen's back, but is there any discussion on it? If not, we'll move to the vote, and I don't think it'll be too contentious, so I'll seek unanimous consent. If you dissent, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. Okay, I don't see any dissents, so that motion passes, and I'll pass chair back to Helen if she's back. Helen, can you hear us?
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Abby. Do you want to continue chairing or do you want to pass it back over to me?
It doesn't matter. We're on to 10.4, so it's up to you.
Okay. Why not? You haven't chaired in a while, so I'll let you.
All right. right, we'll be moving on to 10.4, endorsement of AMS 2023 rent freeze letter. The motion reads as follows. I'll throw it into the chat. Whereas the Alma Mater Society sent a letter to the VP External named 2023 British Columbia Rent Freeze, whereas the Society has asked for support from the Simon Fraser Student Society, whereas this is an urgent matter, so it was brought to the Executive Committee to sign on, whereas rent increases are an issue for the Simon Fraser Student Society membership as well as the local community. Be it resolved, Simon Fraser Student Society 2022-2023 Executive to endorse the letter named 2023 British Columbia Rent Freeze from the Alma Mater Society. Can I get a mover for that, please?
VP External.
VP External moves. Can I get a seconder?
VP Internal.
VP Internal seconds. Cool. Any discussion on the matter? I think Ishana, as the bringer of the motion, you can have priority if you like.
Yeah, I just want to say, so this is from the Alma Mater Society. They sent this letter to me. I'm sorry I couldn't get it to execs earlier, but it was urgent, so I thought that I would bring it to executive. And I did send an email, I think it was 2 days ago with the letter. I'm not sure if folks got a chance to look at it, but I linked it in the chat. Basically, it's just supporting the AMS, asking for a rent freeze. This will go to the Honorable David Evie, I think. Yeah, an MLA, and they have jurisdiction over housing increases and things like that. And right now, rent is a huge barrier for a lot of people. It's inaccessible, so I feel like supporting the AMS on this would be great. Yeah, let me know if folks have any questions or discussion on this.
Thanks, Ishana. If anyone has any questions or wants to comment, you can list in the chat. Nikki, go ahead.
I haven't been able to look into this too deeply. I would request possibly that I think a good solution, since probably a lot of us haven't really been able to properly inform ourselves of the issue, that maybe Ishana, like maybe you can solely like have it yourself as a signatory on the letter, if that's like would be more comfortable for everyone. I think that would be like a really easy solution, but you know, it is possible that we can all be signatories as well, but since I haven't had time to really look into it, that's like one of my thoughts.
Thank you, Nikki. Judith, you're next on the list.
I think this is quite relevant to us, especially for rent freeze, because I remember, was it May or June? We were like anxiously plotting out like rent increase and how that affects student life, especially for us, for those who can't get into residence for whatever reason here at SFU. So I think it's important for us to support this on the basis that this actually does impact our membership as well. If they can't get into residence and if they can't get the right location to rent in, because then they have to also commute or they have to live in conditions that are not ideal. So I know this is only a first step in regards, like we get a letter out, that's only like the first real step towards it really, but I think this is probably a good way to start off, and if there's anything else we can do that actually helps with this rent freeze, I think that would also be good to consider.
Thank you, Judith. Oh, Ishana, you have a direct response. Go ahead.
Yeah, Judith, in terms of what more we can do if we do choose to sign on to, the AMS actually wants to do a day of action where we may go to David Evie's office. So I can keep folks updated on that, but just so you know.
Awesome. Thank you, Ishana. Next on the list is myself. I'm going to speak in favor of this, and I know this is something that I've thought about just in general, the rising housing prices in BC. A lot of friends and family I have are moving to Alberta just because it's cheaper there. And it's kind of sad for me because I honestly think British Columbia is one of the best places in the world to live. And just housing is becoming so unaffordable that people can't afford to stay here. Makes me sad. And that issue is amplified even more for students trying to live on residence. So I'm very much in favor of trying to help AMS get a rent freeze. And if AMS gets it, then that gives other universities more and other, more student societies leverage to try and get this with their universities. So I think it benefits everyone for us to endorse this. Next on the list is Helen. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to jump in here. Yes, I did not get enough time to quickly go over this, but I did skim it just now. And as someone who has faced housing precarity throughout a majority of my undergraduate degree, and now can be privileged to be in a space where I can say that I have some housing stability in my life as of right now, I think it is important that we do signify the fact that there are many students out there, be it at UBC or at SFU, across all post-secondary institutions, who do face housing precarity to this day, especially after the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic. So I would be in big support of supporting this letter and getting the word out to David Eby that students still face housing precarity. A rent freeze is much, much needed. So props to the AMS for doing this initiative. And thanks for bringing this forward, Ishana.
Thank you, Helen. Next on the list is Ella. Go ahead.
I do think execs have speaking priority.
Oh, pardon me. Vaibhav,
I might be wrong though. My Robert's rules might be off.
Ella, if you want to go first, just go ahead. That's fine. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I go first. So yeah, thanks for bringing this, Ishana. This is a really, really current topic right now, and something that we really need to focus on. Rents have been increasing like for the last couple of years, since 2019, I would say. And me being an international student, it is a little harder for people like me, working part-time. Like, let's say a person earns at the basic minimum wage, $16 and 20 hours allowed per week. So 16 into 8 is like roughly around $1,000 or $1,100, like, after 80 hours. So the rent is basically like almost like 800 these days for a minimum, like a room, just a room, yeah, so that I totally support this letter, but I just want to add on to something, something to this basically. Most of the students don't have a written lease with their landlords, so that should be something that if we just want to address as well, like, landlords who have a lease, written lease, can increase to the cap that is kept by the government, 1.5%. But most of the students, they don't have like their lease, and landlords just like ask them to leave their house, or like, they increase it because there's no written lease. So if that is something that can be addressed as well, like, if we are putting this out in the public, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Next on the list for executives, we have Nikki.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that I share the sentiment, and I'm really in favor of reducing rent costs and ensuring that they remain low for students, because I know that that is a significant financial burden on students. I haven't had the chance to thoroughly read through this, so I'm not sure about the I really want to caution that I'm not sure about the exact contents of it, but overall I agree with this overall sentiment, and I want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. We will move on to Helen.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to direct these questions over to Ishana. Again, based on a vote taken here at the executive committee, should we be in support of this letter, what will be the outcome here? Or like, what is the expectation, if any, from the AMS do you know about? Is there like a list that will show the different societies that have supported this? Are they putting out a social media post on their own Instagram or whatever it may be? I just want some clarity to know, should we support this, what will be the outcome of it? So yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
I have
Thank you, Helen. Sorry, yes, Ishana, you can directly respond.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Helen. That's a really good question. So, I talked to the AMS about this before bringing it to exec, and basically they said it would just be us endorsing the letter. So when it goes to David Ebby's office, it'll just say like the SFSS executive like 2022-2023 endorsed this. I don't think anything is going on social media. Basically it would just be that as us execs, we just agree with the AMS and we're in support of what they said. And going further, as I said, like to Judith as well, there might be days of action, but that if execs are free, I'm pretty sure we might just get an invite and then I can forward that to the rest of the executives.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ishana.
Thank you, Ishana. I think now that we've exhausted the exec list, Ella, you're on the list next.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah, so I wanted to speak a little bit on like the campaigning staff side. It's definitely something, sorry. It's definitely something we've heard a lot about from students. I know Muriel has been working hard on some sort of campaigning around rent stability or really just stuff that having to do with student affordability. So while I can't vote, I definitely encourage all of you to because it's so important.
Thank you, Ella. All right, this is gonna be the last opportunity to list on this item. If you have any closing remarks, feel free to list. If not, then I think we're going to, we're going to vote on this. That's right. Yes, and we will take this to a vote. Given that I haven't heard any dissent so far, I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. If you wish to dissent, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and I will call on you for your vote. I don't see any dissent, so this passes unanimously. So thanks, Ishana, for bringing this forward. And I think we're going to move on to discussion items. So that would be.
Abby, do you still want to chair or do you want to pass it back over to me?
Up to you. You can take it back if you want. You're all good now.
Tell me, you're the chair right now.
I can do a couple. I can sort of give it back to you after that, eh?
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right, cool. First discussion item is scheduling time for professional development session for SFSS executives on justice, equity, inclusion, and navigating the co-op term. This was submitted to the agenda by Ria, but I'm wondering if someone else can speak to this. Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not coming in to speak on behalf of Ria because it is her discussion item, but I did want to ask executives if we want to move this discussion item to the next executive committee meeting, so then Ria can have the chance for her to, you know, go more in depth and facilitate scheduling should we want to take down this route. Because I don't feel comfortable to go about doing this without Ria being in the room to actually facilitate the discussion. So that's my take on it. But again, I leave that up to executives on what they want to do.
Thank you, Helen. Ella, you have a direct response?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say that, yeah, I would definitely want Ria to be here. If there's a circumstance in which there needs to be a motion passed with executive, she always has the opportunity to do it over email if she wants it done, if she wants to kind of schedule this significantly earlier, but those are just my two thoughts.
Thank you, Ella. Did anyone else want to add to this? You can list in chat. Helen, go ahead.
If I am able to do this using Robert's rules, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I move to postpone this discussion item to the next executive committee meeting on August 12th, 2022.
That should be fine. Can I get a seconder?
VP Internal.
VP Internal seconds. Is there any discussion? No. All right, I'll seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. Nope. Okay. Cool. 11.1 will be postponed as a discussion item for the next executive committee meeting. Thank you, Helen. Next discussion item is build SFU project update. This was submitted by Helen. Helen, if you want to go ahead with this.
Yeah, thank you. I submitted this on behalf of John, so I will refer to John.
All right, John, please go ahead.
Thanks. And there's just been some significant kind of update just to be given on the Build SFU project that happened a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to take a few moments to get it out there. On July 12th, I believe it was, we received our full occupancy permit for the building. So just to give a little bit of history, prior to July 12th, we only had a provisional occupancy permit for the building. And what that effectively means is that when the city came to do their inspection, they were happy with all of like the critical and life safety systems, but there were a number of issues that they found that weren't exactly to plans or exactly to code that they would like rectified before they'd issue a full permit. And so it did take just over a year to rectify all of these issues. And to give you an idea of some of the things that were in play, some of them were relatively minor and quick fixes, like a slight adjustment to some of our internal signage in the building, just to bring it up to code, and traffic coding out in 2 areas on level 1000. So that's just effectively like painting lines on the ground of the roads and in the loading bay. And there was a couple of things around the final sign off from fire brigade, which was fine. So they came and they did their own inspection after we did an adjustment to some of our mechanical louvers. But then the one big thing that was kind of really holding this out and has delayed this process is there's a thing called a Schedule CB that has to be supplied by each one of the consultants that were the lead on the project. So our consultant for the envelope, which is basically just a reference to the exterior of the building, had a couple of concerns. And one was the louvers, so like these mechanical vents that open and close up at the rear, the very top of the building on the south side. And they also had a concern just about an electrical box that was in a bridge on level 4000 on the west side of our building. And their main concern is just that the envelope was complete, that there was no space for anything to come in, like water ingress or anything like that. And what really took so long with this process of getting this sorted was there was a lot of back and forth between subcontractors, consultants, the general contract, whether things were designed to spec, not designed to spec. And then eventually we did decide on a solution. And the solution was that we retrofitted like what you would refer to as like a back pan, which like just to put it in the simplest terms was like when they took the louvers out in that space, they effectively put in a sheet of metal that let water drain down through the louvers, and then it would hit this sheet of metal and it would push it out through a little channel that it would drain onto the roof structure rather than into the building or through the louvers. But there was a lot of back and forth around like who was responsible for this work and then where the cost that was bared for this work would lie. So we did manage to resolve all of that, and then we got our final inspection on July 12th. So we do have a full occupancy permit for the building now. So the next steps with this would be closing out the capital project. So there will be a final payment that will have to be made to the general contractor for the deficiency works and the holdback that we're holding at the moment. And then we do also need to then register our lease with the city. So one thing we haven't been able to do since we have occupied the building is actually register our lease. And one of the reasons why you would want to do that is that it basically excludes you from paying city taxes. So the only 2 places that will pay city taxes for the building are the 2 commercial units in the building. So once we register our lease and show them that we're a non-for-profit, we'll be able to do that. And we haven't paid any taxes to date because the building actually hasn't had a folio number. So now that the building is complete, they can assign this thing they call a folio number to it. And that's basically just an identifier. And then from the identifier, we can put our lease up against it. So really just in synopsis, like the big moment that we've had here is that we have achieved our full occupancy permit. We got that on July 12th. And then our path going forward will be to close out the capital project with the general contractor and to give them what they're owed and to negotiate that out. And then also we will be registering our lease with the city. So I can open it up to anyone who might have any questions now, but that's the gist of it.
Thank you, John. So on the speakers list, we have Helen. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks, John, for the update. So just to get understanding here, we just need to take this to the city to get the lease approved, aka get a folio number, correct?
Yeah, so now that we have a building occupancy permit, and they should be able to assign the folio number. So the folio number is just the identifier to the building. And then once the city can effectively see the building in their system, we can then apply to register our lease against the building. So we'll be able to do that, and I'll keep you looped into the process with that, because we may need to consult legal just for the process, so we'll see if we can do it.
That would be greatly appreciated, because I also wanted to ask, and maybe you don't know, I certainly don't know, how long do you think it'll take for us to get a folio number from the city?
I don't have the answer to that question. I could only speculate, but I would assume that it would actually be relatively quick. So I plan on actually reaching out to the city next week, as we did receive the occupancy permit on the 12th. So I've given it some time, just allow for the permit itself to be registered with the city and for the city to do their side. And so sometime next week, I should hopefully have an update on whether we can start the process of registering our lease, or if it will take a little bit longer.
Mr. Chair, are you still there?
Sorry about that. So sorry about that. Vaibhav, your direct response, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, I have been also kind of doing some stuff with real estate, and cities are indulged in the elections as the BC elections are coming. So it might take a little longer than the usual time, but usually it takes like 2 weeks to 4 weeks, like, business days. So I hope we can get it as fast as possible.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Anyone else want to comment? Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not even a smart comment or anything. It's more just a thank you again to John for just keeping us updated on what's going on with the building, and just keeping on track with all of these matters, because again, we're not as great with all of it, and you're just awesome, John. So thank you.
Thank you, Helen, and I concur. Thank you, John, for keeping us in the loop. If no one else, anything else they want to add, or any questions they want to ask John, then we can move on to the next item. So last chance to list. Nikki, go ahead.
Abby, I did list before.
Yeah,
Oh,
Vaibhav has a
sorry.
list.
Sorry, Vaibhav, go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, I was just asking, John, thanks for first of all, thanks for the update and all the great work done. Just wondering, like, with the full occupancy permit, does it mean that we are allowed to open the spaces that were not open beforehand, or what does it like employ in property terms, basically?
Yeah, so your occupancy permit effectively is the city closing out the capital project. So once you get your full occupancy permit, it means that the city effectively consider it closed, that you're in a perfect state, that it's been built to design, and that all your critical life safety systems are in place. What you're referring to, Vaibhav, with just some of the spaces around the building, that's more of an operational thing than anything to do with the city.
Thanks,
John. Thank you. Nikki, you're on the list next.
Yeah, just very briefly, again, I want to say thank you, John, for the work that you're doing here. It seems like it's a very complicated situation to deal with, and I really appreciate you being diligent with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. All right. This time, last chance to list. All right. Well, thank you for the update, John. We're going to move on to the next discussion item, which is communication between executive and staff, and this was submitted by Helen.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. I submitted this on behalf of Aisha, who is unfortunately not here. So I don't have any context to this discussion item. I just submitted it on behalf of Aisha. So I'm going to move to postpone this discussion item to the next executive committee meeting.
Can I get a seconder?
VP University.
VP University seconds. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. I'll take a vote on this then. Seeking unanimous consent, we are moving to postpone this until the next executive meeting. Seeking unanimous consent, if you dissent, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. We have no dissenters, so that is postponed till next meeting. All right, next item is follow up on meetings exec attend. And this was submitted by Helen.
Thanks, Abby. Once again, I submitted this on behalf of Aisha, and unfortunately, she is not here in the room. So I'm going to move to postpone this this discussion item once again to the next executive committee meeting.
Okay, can I get a seconder?
VP University.
VP University seconds. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent to the motion to postpone, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none. This carries unanimously, and followed up on meeting execs attend is postponed until next meeting. All right. Next item is exec involvement for BA hiring. And this was submitted by Helen.
All right, thank you, Abby. I'm actually going to defer to Judith because Judith had brought this up to me and I submitted it on her behalf. So Judith, I would defer over to you.
Judith, please go ahead.
Yeah, so that actually came up because of an email chain. I believe we're looking to hire a new building assistant for the fall. Usually executives are part of the hiring committee, and there's usually, I believe, 2 seats for executives to sit on the hiring committee. This was something that was brought up in an email chain, and I thought we should talk about it to see who would be available to serve on the committee and like what the expectations would be in terms of timelines. So I don't know if, John, do you have any more information on this?
John, go ahead.
Hey, so I didn't put this forward to executive this motion myself. So, but what I'm guessing that it's around is that we are looking to backfill some positions that will be vacated quite soon, so that we can fulfill the current number of hours and the rota that we have come September. So we would like to do a posting for a buildings assistant position early August. Usually that posting goes live for 2 weeks then. And then after that, we do interviews. So that would give us a timeline that we would be hopeful that someone would be able to start like late August or early September. As part of the hiring process, there is usually 2 union excluded and 2 union representatives. I believe most times, 9 out of 10, it's usually a member of excluded management and also an executive that do it from the union excluded side. But I'm sure there has been times in the past where there is 2 executives. So it's not that it's not allowed, it's just that it's not always the case. So I think the email that went out was a call for the hiring committee. So if people were interested in the hiring committee, usually you appoint somebody to the hiring committee. So that might be the purpose of this today, is to actually make an appointment to that hiring committee. And then the hiring committee usually meets to approve the job description. Once it's approved, it can be posted online. Then the hiring committee usually meets to review the applicants, and they decide on who to progress into the interview stage. And then the hiring committee actually carries out the interviews, and the hiring committee makes a selection at the end. So that's kind of the broad overview of the process. But I'm guessing it might be to assign somebody actually to that hiring committee.
Thank you, John. I'll list myself really quick. I'll just say briefly that I'm happy to fill in a role on the hiring committee if needed. Yeah, that's all I'll say. If anyone else wants to comment, feel free to list in the chat. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying, John. I would also be happy to offer my help and be on the hiring committee. If that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. I'll say that John has mentioned in the chat that this can be done via email motion, which is good. So there's no need to do it today because we already are on the discussion items. Yeah, anyone else want to say anything? Feel free to list in the chat. Odds out of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thanks everyone for your contributions to that. I think we'll have a follow-up to that at some point, and then when we know when it's needed, we can potentially do an email motion to see who can get appointed to those seats. Okay, moving on. The next item is unclaimed room deposits. This was submitted by myself, and I believe I can pass the floor to John on this one. John, is that right?
I'm not aware of this one, Abby. I don't think it came from me.
Okay, might have probably from Aisha then. Let me double check. Oh, well, that's inconvenient. Yeah, this is from Aisha. Okay, I'm going to move to postpone this until the next executive committee meeting. Can I get a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll second.
So both you at the same time. I think I
President
said,
seconds.
okay, president seconds. Any discussion? No, okay. I'll seek unanimous consent on this. If you wish to dissent to this being postponed, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing no dissent, this is postponed. So next we have a parking benefit for permanent employees. This was submitted by myself. And again, this is also from Aisha. So I'm just going to move to postpone one more time. Can I get a seconder?
VP University, sorry.
VP University, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. If you dissent to postponing this motion, or so this discussion, sorry, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none. This is successfully postponed. So we'll have lots of discussion items for our next executive meeting. All right. Next discussion item. It is titled Executive Office Safety. This is the new 11.9, I believe. And I believe this was submitted by Nikki.
Nope, by me.
By you, sorry.
That's okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So before I dive into this, I do want to put out a content/trigger warning in case if anyone who is listening to this recording or anyone from membership listening to this may have experience with feeling unsafe within a space. I'm not quite sure how to categorize it, but this is what I'm just going to call it as. If you've had lived experience with feeling unsafe within a space, I just want to put that out there. No, I would not call it violence, Nikki. But anyways, I'm just going to dive in here and explain the situation as best I can, without causing any harms here. So what happened yesterday was it was myself, Abby, and Nikki. We were all in the executive office, and an individual had come into the office, as the door is always open for anyone to walk in, and basically started asking very forward and confrontational questions. Abby says provocative in the chat, regarding the tumultuous times that we are unfortunately experiencing within the SFSS. And the individual was standing in the doorway. They were standing in the doorway where if you wanted to leave the space, right? If you felt unsafe and wanted to leave the space and there's only one door to exit the executive offices, you would have had to walk right through them. And myself, Abby, and Nikki, we had felt pretty uncomfortable with the fact that there's this person here asking these very confrontational questions about what we're unfortunately experiencing right now in the SFSS. And this is not to say that we don't welcome this debate, we do, but it doesn't mean that our physical safety must be put in jeopardy. So once this individual had left, we had called the building coordinators to come up to the exec office. And we basically, and with John's approval as well, we had asked for the rest of the operating hours of the day that the executive office door be locked. So only executives with a fob would be able to come in, use your fob, and go into the office, right? Just to ensure safety, because again, we were slightly unsettled by this incident. And in light of the fact that all of us here, or a majority of us in here, have been experiencing hateful comments, death threats, I can admit to the fact that I have been getting those, and I'm sure a lot of us in here have as well. I wanted to bring up this conversation to basically get executive opinion on what we want to do to ensure that our physical safety within the executive offices will be maintained, respected. Something that I had suggested already to building coordinators is to just have more regular check-ins by coming up to the 4th floor and coming into our offices just to make sure that we're okay. That's something that I suggested, but I also wanted to bring this conversation to the executive committee to see where everyone else is at. Because again, I know that we are experiencing tumultuous times, but I do want to ensure that everyone in the executive office has their physical safety maintained and respected. So this is why I brought up this discussion item. And I know that this might be a difficult conversation, and I'm sorry if I had triggered anyone who may have had this lived experience before. I just wanted to bring this up so everyone can have an equal opportunity to raise their concerns and see what we want to do from here on out. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Certainly a heavy topic, that's for sure, and an important topic as well, as the physical safety of executives is very, very crucial to the executive functioning, because we don't feel physically safe. It's hard to feel mentally safe, and it's hard to do your job, quite frankly. Judith, please go ahead. You're next on the list.
I think mine is kind of a two-parter. So I'm going to start with the actual input. When we took office, I want to say around May or early June, there was a couple staff members who came to me and asked whether we would be interested in making our office space, like our main door, have a fob entry requirement, so no one can walk in just casually, like you can into it'd be similar to what the admin office has. You need the fob to go in. To some degree, I kind of didn't like the idea of it, because students should have the opportunity to come talk to us. On the other hand, based on what I just heard here today, I think at least for a certain amount of time, it might be warranted. In other aspects, I know that there are a couple of us who are on campus quite regularly. I myself, I'm usually there from 8:30 a.m. till 7 p.m. And I don't think it's a surprise to anyone here or to staff who probably at this point noticed I have not come to campus since Tuesday. And I don't think it's a secret why. So I know there were rumors and threats made. I know some of them were escalated to the right parties, but I think at this point, we also need to decide what we want to do in an executive team to relatively stay secure in our spaces.
Thank you, Judith. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I want to recognize that Judith, you know, like what she was mentioning is very heavy, and like this is a difficult conversation to have, because I think that a lot of us do have, you know, like past experiences with feeling unsafe as well. So it can hit really close to, you know, like our emotional and deep selves, right? So I like have also like after that incident, it was really difficult for me to have the right mind space to continue my work for the day. And I feel that it's also in a practical sense that I want to bring up, is that if we do have individuals coming in and being provocative to get a reaction out of us, right? It impedes our ability to do our work as well, and it impedes society resources and the society as a whole, right? So I think that's a big picture view, as well as just the practical reasons, not even considering the ethical reasons behind everything, right? I like the idea of the office remaining open, because it makes us more accessible to students. Students can just walk in, but at the same time, I haven't seen regular students just walk in. I don't think they really know that they can walk in. So and I guess in an actual sense, I don't know if it would have much of a substantive difference in the students' ability to access us versus not, because most students that want to access us will reach out and make an appointment anyway. And I guess that's just my observation. And yeah, thank you. Hope this helps the conversation.
Thank you, Nikki. Next on the list is Ishana.
Yeah, I was just wondering, can I ask, is this the matter of the 350 community member that came by the office yesterday?
I'll directly respond to that, Ishana. For the sake of PIPA, I don't think it's fair for us to say any details on what or who this is relating to, and for the sake of everyone's privacy. John, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to give some options here for people just to be able to consider them. I obviously wasn't there myself yesterday, so I don't know what the extent of this was. But I would start by reiterating, like, this is very important that we do kind of respond to this, and also it kind of highlights the importance of us having our emergency response plans. So just to ping that, if you can check it in your emails, hopefully we can send that out to staff next week as well. And it's for situations like this that it's important that you do have a procedure documented. With regards to your office spaces, just some things for you to consider. You might remember when we did our induction and when I met everybody and gave your keys, just in terms of accessing your own office. And there is a thing you can do called a one-time entry when you go into your office, where you twist your key once to the right-hand side and it opens the door. It lets you in, but it keeps the door locked on the other side. So in the interim, if you do have a concern, something you can do is, if you just pop out of your office and you're in the open plan area, if you leave that door in a one-time entry and if you have your keys on you, or even if they were in the office, you can always go back into your office space. And once you close the door behind you, it is secure. So I think that that's important just to bear in mind, that it's an option that you could utilize. And to talk about the access control into the open plan area specifically, like, we can adapt that schedule any way you want. So if it was a case that you did want to have certain hours, like when there's a high occupancy in the building and there's a lot of staff present, that you did want the door to be open, we can have it open those core hours. Maybe it's like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then it could be fob only in the evenings. And we could have it fob only at any time if you would like as well. And then you would just need to meet people by appointment and bring them into the space. But also just that people are aware that this schedule is adaptable. So if there's something that needs to be done in the interim, if there's a serious concern at the moment, because I'm hearing people say things like death threats and things like that, which definitely alarm me. So like, if you do think there is an immediate concern, like, the recommendation would be to keep that door closed for the time being, but it doesn't mean it always has to be closed. Like, you can change the schedule in 2 weeks' time if things calm down. And you could go on to, like, as I said, a restricted schedule where it's open certain hours or it's closed certain times in the evening. But I just want to make sure that people are aware of, like, all of the different options. And then really to stress that, like, if any point in time you do feel uncomfortable or threatened in the building, to contact the building coordinator as soon as possible. And if I'm on site, you can contact me directly as well. That's all.
Thank you, John. Ishana, you're next on the list.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, from my knowledge, I just want to say what I know from my knowledge about the situation. So a person went to the office yesterday and raised concerns about rush processes, whatever happened at the last council meeting. And then they asked execs to outline policies and things like that. And I think execs, it didn't respond. And then it was Nikki who asked to call security, and then the rest of the execs said not to, rightfully. And then the person continued to talk for another 2 minutes and then left. So I just want to make sure that members are still allowed to come to the office, and making sure that like this conversation like isn't as escalated. Also, it would, yeah, I'm just gonna put that there. And also, as a community, we want to make sure that students are allowed to talk. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on there.
Thank you, Ishana. I have a direct response, just a clarifying question. Sorry, where are you getting this information from? If you want to directly respond to that, Ishana.
I'm from the assumed individual, from what I'm hearing from what the situation was said from before.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Anyone else on the list? Nope. Okay.
Abby John is on the list.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just want to say that, like, if you can, when you think about this, probably take whatever happened yesterday out of the equation, even though that it is an alarming thing. Like, I think at the very start of this synopsis, like, people have said that they have received threats and different things. And so it is important just to consider everybody's safety in the building too. But just wanted to reiterate that, like, it doesn't have to be focused on one particular incident, because I don't know who was there or wasn't there or what did happen for that incident. But if people are raising concerns, saying that they don't feel safe in the building, that's something that definitely does concern me.
Thank you, John. Ella, go ahead. You're next on the list.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what John was saying, honestly. The safety plans as well. I think that this is a really good opportunity to make sure that our staff have the training that was outlined in the work that was forwarded to JHSC, and not only that, to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page about protocol. But ultimately, we do want to make sure that everyone's safety is prioritized, because you can't get your work done if you're scared to be on campus.
Thank you, Ella. Oh, okay. Whoa. List expanded very quickly. Judith, please go ahead.
I'm going to walk the line very carefully here. I'm going to start off asking Nikki, you know the email you sent off on Tuesday regarding the rumor we heard? Can I disclose that, or is that a no-no?
Nikki, if you want to directly respond to that, you can go ahead.
Sure. What utility do you think would come out of disclosing it?
Because I think we do need to highlight that those particularly spoke to about you, me, and Helen. Which is why I am comfortably calling in from my house today, not from the sub.
Go for it.
Judith, go ahead.
So there was some rumors, though we don't know how substantiated they are, about someone apparently wanting to bash Nikki's, Helen's, and my head in with a sledgehammer. So I think we need to keep an eye, especially on Nikki and Helen, because they seem to still be brave enough to go into the sub. I myself will be avoiding it at all costs. So that's something to keep in mind. So if building coordinators see Nikki and Helen around, maybe just make sure that there's nobody carrying anything that's following them. But yeah.
Thank you, Judith. That's a heck of a disclosure to make, and quite frankly, quite disturbing. And if whoever's made that threat is listening, I hope you're ashamed of yourself. All right, Ishana, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say sorry to hear that. No one deserves to hear that or go through that or hear those things being said about that person. So yeah, we shouldn't be feeling unsafe in these spaces. But with that being said, yeah, I sorry, I just wanted to clarify that since it could have been like defamatory against the person, but yeah, once again, nobody should feel unsafe in these spaces.
Thanks, Ishana. Next on the list is Helen. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to try my best to keep this as brief as possible, but yeah, like I'm on the same wavelength as pretty much everyone here. We all should feel comfortable coming into our workplace and, you know, knowing that our physical safety is going to be maintained. Which again, that's why I brought this discussion item to see maybe what we could do in the interim, such as the things that John had mentioned, if we want to go about that route with temporarily keeping the door locked and only having our fobs to enter the space for just a temporary amount of time. We can still invite membership if we want to, but we have to ensure that they will maintain everyone's physical safety in the same space. Again, having building coordinators come in and check on us. I don't know, again, I don't know what everyone here wants to do, but I want everyone to feel like they can come into the space and know that their physical safety will be okay. That's it.
Thank you, Helen. Anyone else wants to list on this, feel free. I guess I'll throw a quick list in there. So I'll say what I've done so far is I've tried to be on campus for as long as hours as possible, just to make sure I'm providing some sort of coverage in case someone does show up. At least I'm here and maybe I can fight them off or whatever, right? But obviously that's not the best defense. So if we can try and make sure that building coordinators are aware of the potential threats and that we have some sort of safety plan in place, I think that'd be great. Nikki, please go ahead.
I guess one of my thoughts is that in God forbid, like the worst case scenario that somebody does start walking into the sub, let's say holding a weapon, what can substantively be done, right? Like I don't know, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with tasking like building staff to try to come between a person and a weapon, right? Like I don't know if there's anything that really can be done, but like I don't know what practically would happen in that kind of situation.
That's a really good point, Nikki. I know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I believe we did just pass the joint health and safety plan, or the sub-emergency response plan to joint health and safety. I believe that has some stuff on in case people have weapons in the sub. Is that correct? John, go ahead.
Hi, but yeah, like it wouldn't list specifically people having weapons in the sub or something like that, but it does deal with like dealing with aggressive behavior or somebody causing a disturbance, and there's an escalation procedure there. So we did just receive the feedback from JHSC, and there was only one minor request for an edit just to add somebody to a list of qualified first aiders. So that has been done, and then I did update exec this morning because we got the feedback yesterday just asking, is it okay to distribute this to our stakeholders and also to our staff as of early next week. I think it would be better to distribute it at the start of a week rather than on like 4 p.m. on a Friday of a long weekend. It's never a good time to send out information, and this is very important information. But the plan is just one thing. So after the plan, we would also need to go through training with the staff so that they are aware of all the different procedures that are in the plan itself. But I just to touch on like the question that was asked by Nikki too, like the immediate response like would be is that if there was a threat in the building, like if it cannot be de-escalated at the first point of contact, it would have to be escalated to CPS. So that would be a call to campus public safety.
Thanks, John. Ishana is next on the list.
Yeah, so I just like to circle back to the conversation that we were having originally too. So I want all of our physical safety to be maintained like 100%. The direction of this conversation seems to be about physical safety. So for this reason, I just want to ask, so did the member who came in do anything that made folks feel physically unsafe? And I'm just wondering if my timeline was wrong. I'm just trying to understand the situation better.
I'm going to directly respond to Ishan. I think we've moved on from that. And I'm not sure why you're so adamant on hearing about this particular individual. If you want to clarify that, maybe. But at this point, I think we've moved on and we're trying to find a solution to this problem now, which is executive safety. And maybe one solution I potentially have is having our main door locked so you can only enter with a fob, and then executives who can see outside can let people in. Ishana, you can directly respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm still just because this was brought up, I want to understand the situation better because it is about executive safety. So I'm just wondering like if there was a physical threat because all of us go to the office, right? So I'm just wondering because we all go and I'm just wondering like if that's something that we're all like having to worry about here.
Okay, thank you, Ishana. Does anyone else want to list? Judith, go ahead.
I kind of have a stupid question. I think it's mostly aimed at John. Sorry, John. This was actually a conversation I've had with, I'm not sure which exec, like weeks before this was even an issue, in regards to what would be because I know in the sub-emergency plans, there's outlines that if you cannot leave the building in terms of emergency, you need to hide in terms of a active threat situation. In that case, in the exec office, where would we go? Would we have to hide in the storage room? This is not as relevant to today's discussion as it would be in a general concern as to what we would do in that situation, because some of the offices are closer to the main entrance than the others are. So if you're running back, you are more at risk than the office is closer to the storage area. But yeah, that's just something we should maybe keep in mind if this issue gets worse, but in case there's a actual active threat to consider, especially because most of the sub-emergency plans kind of outline like subtenants spaces and how that affects them and then how it affects staff spaces. But yeah.
Thank you, Judith. Baiba. Oh, no, sorry. John has a direct response. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Judith, kind of the broader answer to that would be like, you don't know what's going to happen in every situation or what type of like threat would come in, but like what I touched on earlier when I mentioned about like individual safety and like your offices and that one-time entry that you can do to keep your office door locked from the outside so nobody can actually get into your office space if needs be. But you are correct in also saying that each member of executive does have a key for the storeroom. So if this was a wider conversation and you were talking about like an active threat across the building, yes, you would be right in saying that the safest location for executives that were in that office wing would be behind that door because it's right at the back of the office and it's secure.
Thank you, John. Next on the list is Vaibhav.
Yeah, this is some serious concern to listen to be honest. If something that can be done in my suggestion is like, that is like not a direct kind of alternate to the problem, but like, we can set a speed dial for emergency numbers, especially like we don't have police on the campus, so we have like special security there, right? So that number is, I think, so 10-digit long. So it's difficult sometimes to remember that number. So if you can put that in your speed dial list, that would help, everybody. Also, like, keeping something like safety gadgets that we get, like, from Canadian Tire, that would help too. Thank you.
Thanks, Vaibhav. John, go ahead.
I'd just like to try and bring this back on track a little bit. So like, can we just focus immediately right now on kind of like the executive space and trying to make it as safe as possible? And so like, just to say again about people being conscious of their own individual offices and keeping them secure. And then we can definitely have the building coordinators be more of a presence in that area too. And then the real decision here is kind of like just with the door to the common area. As a temporary measure, like I would have to suggest that you would keep that secured on fob only. And then you could arrange appointments, or you could meet anybody outside, or executives could take a turn sitting in the common area that they can have a view of the glass if there's ever anybody waiting outside. But like as an interim measure, like I can't sit here and say if people are feeling threatened that you should have that door widely open. I think it should go on a fob. I don't think you necessarily need to pass a motion around this, because a motion could end up having a timeline and then waiting for another motion. I think we could make this change, and in a couple of days, if you wanted to change it back, we could change it back, or if you wanted to reduce the hours, but that would be my suggestion for now.
Thank you, John. Helen, you're next on the list.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. And I was just going to echo what John was just saying here, just to recenter the conversation back on this. And I trust John's judgment in what's the best way in keeping us safe for the interim. So I'm supporting John's comment here, and maybe having our door locked for the interim, just getting in with our fobs, knowing when folks want to visit us. They just email us in advance. Just for the interim, I'm in support of what John just mentioned here.
Thank you, Helen. I concur. John, you have a direct response. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, to add something that might help kind of like alleviate concerns of not being accessible to people, like for the sake of $20, you can get a portable doorbell that you could stick on the front of the door and just plug the sounder into the open plan area. So if anyone was ever at the door, they could just press the button, and then you'd actually know that somebody is right outside the door. And again, I'm talking about this as being a temporary measure, not a permanent thing. But if that were to help alleviate concerns about the student body still having ad hoc access, they could have access that way.
Thank you, John. Okay. So while there's been some derailment, I think I'd like to specifically hear from those who are specifically threatened. Would locking the exec office and requiring the use of a fob and then potentially using, the doorbell system to let people in, would that be something that those who've been threatened would be interested in? Judith, go ahead.
I think that's a good temporary measure, and hopefully this will not be an issue in the long term. So I'm in support of that.
Thank you, Judith. Would anyone else like to comment on it? Helen says in the chat they support it for the interim. Nikki, go ahead.
I think that this would be helpful, but if I have the consensus of everyone here, it probably would be good if I just bring this up as a potential issue just to SFU security so that they know what's going on and that it's documented.
I think that's fair. Yeah, anyone else want to comment before we wrap things up? Move on to the next discussion item. Ishana, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to continue having conversations regarding executive safety, because safety is the #1 priority. But I want to note for the record that this conversation I just want to note for the record that this conversation did not come up organically, but rather as a direct consequence of a conversation that happened with a community member yesterday. So I just want to caution us from jumping and discussing locking doors and other things. This is not a derailment, as we have a right to know what goes on in the executive office. Also, since as I said before, we all go to the executive office. I just want to know what happened for my own safety as well. So to my knowledge, the assumed individual did not make any threats or do anything to threaten physical safety. But yeah.
Okay. Nikki, go ahead.
I just want to bring some clarity also for the record that at least from my perspective, that we aren't just bringing this up only in direct relation to just the incident that happened recently, but also the specific threats that have come forward to us, including the one that was mentioned by Judith in this conversation that I will refrain from repeating just because it is sensitive and triggering. So I hope that offers clarity, and I just want to also say that for the record as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm going to directly respond as well. And I also want to state, Ishana, that I don't believe this was stated, that this was purely done for that or for that sole reason. So you are making an assumption. So please be careful with that. Okay. I believe we are running close to time. So we have one more item. I'm just going to move to extend the meeting into 2:45 p.m. I think 15 minutes. Nikki will second that. Any discussion? No discussion? Okay, seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent to extend the meeting to 2:45, please use the raise hand feature to show your dissent. Okay, no dissent, so we extend it until 2:45. I'm going to take Vibov's list, and then I'm going to cut off the speakers list because I don't want this to escalate any further.
I retract.
Oh, okay. I guess as a closing remark, it seems like those who are threatened seem to be in consensus with a solution to help them feel more secure. So, John, I'm not sure how we want to proceed exactly. We seem to have a temporary solution that at least the three who are threatened with seem to agree on. John, I don't know if you want to directly respond to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, all I can say on that front is that, like, if you want to pass an executive decision about it, like, I think you're past that stage because you're at discussion. But like, my only takeaways from this isn't any particular incidents. Like, I'm just dealing with the concerns that are being raised, and like the recommendation I would make with the concern being raised is that you should probably look at closing that door for the time being. And as I said, it's an interim measure. It's not anything that's going to be long term. And then just for the record as well, I can say that, like, prior to the call that I received from the building coordinator yesterday, and probably about 1 week ago, I did receive an email directly from the executive, which did raise a concern around safety. So like, that heightens me as well when I hear that there's another concern being raised yesterday. And like, I really hope nothing would ever happen, but like, from my perspective, we have to be seen to take action when concerns like this are raised. And it doesn't need to be a permanent solution, but it can be a temporary. And if we can try and put as many things into that temporary solution to make everybody happy, like including like something like that doorbell so that people can still get ad hoc access into the space, I think that would be a very viable solution. But whether or not you want to pass an executive motion on is kind of between yourselves. And again, you could pass that motion via email if you had to, because we are past it at the moment. But I just need clear instruction as to what you want me to do.
Okay, thank you, John. I think we'll send you a follow-up email if we have a consensus. Okay, we're going to move on now to 11.9 sub-safety plan. Ellen, did you submit this one, I want to say?
Sure, I'll say that I submitted it, to be honest, but I can't say anything to it because it's submitted on behalf of, I think it may have been John?
Or Ishana?
Or, oh, no, you're right. Yeah, it was Ishana. It was,
oh,
yeah.
Ishana, yes, please. Go ahead, you have speaking priority then. Please go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, this is on behalf of John. We were just having a conversation about the emergency plan, so I'm going to hand it off to John.
Yeah, so it's just to revive the conversation on this. Like, we did end up discussing it just in the last discussion item, just because they kind of do overlap. But it's just to bring it to people's attention again that, like, we did do some consultation around these plans. And a lot of the feedback came back was like that they were very pro there being a working group. And I think in a lot of discussions we had, we did say that, like, when we do roll out these plans are going to be our interim plans. Like, these are going to be what we're operating from. But at the same time, in tandem, we would have a working group, and that working group will be working towards more of an evolutionist approach to responses in the building. So it's just to reiterate that and to put it back on executives' radar. And unless I've heard any dissent, and like I did mention before, I have sent those emails again. We will be looking to send out the plans as they are to staff on Tuesday, but I would hope sometime very, very soon that we could strike that working group that could help work through some of the concerns that a lot of other people might have about the plans as they are. So just to put that out there for discussion, or also just to put it on your radar, that we will be rolling out these plans on Tuesday unless I hear any differently. But it would be very, very important to consider all of our wider communities and everybody that's involved in the space, and to help alleviate some of their concerns by also striking the working group as soon as possible.
Thank you, John. Did anyone want to list on this? I know we had quite the extensive discussion on the last one, so perhaps we might not have anything to say now, but if anyone wants to list on this. Sorry for the background noise. If someone wants to list, you can feel free. Ishana, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if we can put in like a motion or something to start a working group on this, and then maybe we can have like the working group meet like every 1 to 2 weeks. Obviously, like depending on constituency groups and things like that, and like availability. But just so we can get this going, so we make sure that we have the best possible emergency plan too, which like holds what everyone has talked about with all the feedback and what Amal said as well.
Okay, thank you, Ishana. So I apologize. I had a bit of a, oh, okay, perfect. Ella has a direct response. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to suggest maybe an idea. Maybe management, Aisha, John, and I could come together and work on a little bit of a brief for exec first, around like the input we have from staff and you know, the folks on campus that do use the sub. I think that might be a good allocation of time, and then when we come back together, have that kind of be drafted and presented.
Thank you, Ella. Ishana says yes in the chat, and I agree. Getting a little brief certainly wouldn't hurt. It also means I don't have to make the motion this meeting, which saves me because I'm lazy. So that works great. Anyone else want to list or say anything on this matter? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right. I believe that finally brings us to the end of our agenda. Helen, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is.
Okay, well, then I am very happy to call for adjournment. So I'm going to move to adjourn this meeting at 2:35 p.m. I'll move that. Can I get a seconder, please?
President seconds.
The president seconds. Now, is there anyone sadistic enough to oppose this motion? Judith, okay. Oh God, why did I say that? Okay. Judith and Nikki, abstentions or against? We're just joking.
We retract.
Retract. Okay, sure. Just make my blood pressure spike for no reason. That works. Okay. Seeing no real dissent, that passes. Thank you, everybody. I know it was a very long meeting. I also want to give a shout out to my friend for giving me the strawberry smoothie to get me through it. So I think our next exec meeting is in 2 weeks. We also have a council meeting in the meantime, so we will see you then.
And if I'm